subscribe to both our YouTube and Facebook pages at The One Mic Show, and then follow us on Instagram at One Mic Show. We are also taking live calls tonight at 202-683-4570. Press star 5 to speak, so you want to save that number. And then later tonight, following the recent announcement to include Genge music in the Grammy Awards, we'll talk to the godfather of Genge music, Nonini Mgenge2ru, on what this means for the future of Kenyan music. So I want you to stay tuned. Na bila kusahau, tapokea mziki toka DJ wetu machachari mleta habari DJ Moshfire, na tutadunda kule viwanjani na Mika Och, jezi yake nambari 7 mgongoni, akituletea habari za michezo. Moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro Studios, ni mimi mtangazaji na mwanahabari wako mpendwa Ali Badawi. Wengi wananiita mteule, na kule kwetu mniite mjukuu wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Karibuni tena.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now this hour, there will be no politics, but we'll be discussing the surprise announcement by the U.S. Recording Academy to include Kenya's Genge music in one of the newly added categories in the Grammy Awards. Will this be the turning point for African music genres outside Afrobeat? Want you to keep it locked to find out. I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawi. It's Friday the 16th of June, and we are streaming live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. Now, please remember to subscribe to our One Mic Show YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at One Mic Show. On panel with me tonight is Mr. One Mic Kamakawa. Sports anchor Mika Och will be joining us live via Zoom, and our resident DJ Moshfire will be live on the decks. And not forgetting super producer Mubelo Bandio. And we have a lot to cover tonight, so we are just gonna get started right away, because there's quite a number of things that we want to talk about tonight. And for a long time, it's been said that Kenyan music lacks identity. And over the last 20 years, some distinct genres have emerged within the industry. Now, regardless of the effort, Kenyan music has struggled to find its place on the international music scene, despite producing quality content and being a hotbed of top-tier talent. Now, in a recent surprise announcement, the U.S. Recording Academy added 3 new categories for the upcoming 2024 Grammy Awards. Now, one of the new categories is Best African Music Performance. The category seeks to recognize singles that utilize unique local expressions across the continent. Now, this category, as expected, includes Nigeria's Afrobeat, South Africa's Amapiano, and DR Congo's Ndombolo. But in a surprising twist, the Kenyan genre of Genge and Tanzania's Bongo Flava were added to the category amongst several other less-known genres from across different parts of Africa. And on the show tonight, we want to discuss what this will mean for the future of Kenyan music and other African music genres outside of Afrobeat. And then the Kenyan artist who was among the founders of Genge music, that's Nonini Mgenge2ru, will be joining us later to give us his take. So I want you to stay tuned for that. But for now, I just want to go to our panel straight away. And we're going to start with you, DJ Moshfire. And really what I want to get started with today is for the last many years, DJ Mosh, you've been entertaining us with all kinds of Genge tunes and other types of Kenyan music. Did you in your wildest dreams expect Genge was going to have a place in the Grammy Awards? Omosh.
Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Mwani pokea. I can't even hear myself. But anyway, it's okay. I'll just talk to myself and imagine that you guys are not with me in the studio na naeza ongea peke yangu. Ali,
Yes.
no, never ever. I mean, Genge? Nah, no. Maybe one of our other genres. Maybe to me, I would either say something like Tarab or
Rumba.
Or Rumba, I wouldn't say so much, but I would say Tarab, Benga, and by that I mean Kenyan.
Kenyan origin music.
Yes, because Rumba, I don't know if we really categorize Rumba as Kenyan.
Okay.
More than I think, to me, we say Rumba is from Congo or from DRC.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so if anything, I would say maybe Tarab, Benga, something like Chakacha, because normally, the genres that they pick are always very... They try to pick something that's very identifiable and kind of traditional.
Okay.
So I'm surprised.
Now, the Recording Academy CEO, his name is Harvey Mason Jr., he said that the new changes reflect the Academy's commitment to actively listen and respond to the feedback from the music community and accurately represent a diverse range of relevant music genres and stay aligned with the ever-evolving musical landscape. And then he added that by introducing these new categories, we're able to acknowledge and appreciate a broader array of artists and honor and celebrate the creators and recordings in these categories while also exposing a wider range of music to fans worldwide. For me personally, I wish I would have known, the sausage making process that led them to especially Genge in Kenya. And that's where I think it's a mystery, because this came as a surprise to most of us.
It came as a surprise, but it shouldn't. But he, the same guy, Harvey, actually announced it.
Yes,
he did say it earlier in the year. I think it was in around February when they're doing the nominations for 2023 Grammy Award winners. I think there was the time when they were doing the nominations. They were in Ghana. They had just he had just come out of a meeting in Ghana with Afrobeats, either probably stakeholders. And they had a very, very long discussion. And what came out of that was that Afrobeats was supposedly going to get its own category. So basically, Africa was being recognized.
Okay.
Now, probably after more conversations with probably a wider audience of African music stakeholders, they realized that Afrobeats probably by itself would have been unfair. Which is why, if you notice and you look at all those different genres that are picked in there, you have some very, very interesting genres that are in there.
Now actually, before we get to those genres, you talked about Afrobeats. We already know that Afrobeat artists, like Burna Boy, Davido, they've already been winning these awards.
Correct.
From before. So where were they categorized? If there wasn't, because a lot of people are surprised that Afrobeat wasn't a category, because the Afrobeat artists have been winning Grammys.
Yes.
So where were they? What categories were they winning Grammys in if Afrobeat in itself was not a category?
So the category has been global.
Okay.
So the category that they were under and that they have won in prior years is under global. That includes people like Angelique Kidjo, Yusundio, Papa Wemba, people like that.
Yeah.
So when folks are being nominated, they would be nominated under the global category. But now we are no longer being lumped under global category, because again, with that global category, it was not only Africa, it was Africa, and then you have other parts that are not, say, picked. Maybe you might have a loose Europe, maybe you might even have like the Scots with their kilts and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So because they're under global.
Okay.
Now what's being specified is this is Africa. So it's specific to Africa. Then is when you have the different genres that I was mentioning. I was alluding to earlier. Genge being one of them.
Yeah, and actually those genres, this new category is gonna be called Best African Music Performance, and the genres that were included, there's Afrobeat, Afrofusion, Afropop, Afrobeats with an S. So that's very interesting. Then there's another one called Alte. I'm hearing that for the first time. I don't know what genre that is. Then, of course, there's Amapiano from South Africa, Bongo Flava from Tanzania, of course, Genge from Kenya, Kizomba, which is from Angola. There's another genre called Chimurenga, I'm not sure what country that is from.
Might be like Zim or something.
Zim or Zambia.
I think it's
okay.
Yeah.
And then there's High Life. I believe High Life is Ghana.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's Fuji.
Fuji, I'm not sure.
Not idea. And then there's Kwasa. When I had Kwasa, I was thinking Kwasa. But apparently Kwasa is a different music genre. I'm not sure if it's from Congo or from another country. And then there's, of course, Ndombolo, which is from Congo. There's Mapuka. Mapuka, I think, is Ivory Coast or Cameroon.
Correct.
Or one of those two.
Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's Ghanaian drill. There's Afro house. There's South African hip hop. Which is very interesting. That South African hip hop gets a category on its own.
I don't know if South African hip hop is supposedly Kwaito, or is it the music that Nasty C?
I think it's Kid Nasty C and this guy who passed away.
But that's
AKA.
Amapiano.
So I'm not really sure. And then of course there's the
Unless he had, well, maybe he did have hip hop before he switched to but I mean, he's been doing stuff under Amapiano. I mean,
yeah, and then there's Ethio jazz, like
I think it's probably Ethiopian jazz.
yeah, which is Ethiopian jazz.
Which is interesting. That Ethio jazz is being thrown in here, but there's a brand new category for jazz. That was one of the three that just came in. There's a jazz category. Which one is?
Yeah, because there are three categories.
Best alternative jazz album.
Okay.
So wouldn't you think that Ethio jazz might fall under alternative jazz? Because you see, these categories are very interesting. So let's say, for instance, there's jazz that's coming out of Ethiopia. There's jazz that's coming out of South Africa. There's jazz that's coming out. So as long as you have jazz that's coming out of Africa, it's not going to be put in the jazz category. It will be thrown into the African category.
Yeah.
Which means you have then limited, or you have limited the other genres that are within Africa.
Yeah.
Even though there's actual jazz categories.
Yes.
Because you're now taking into account that this person who is playing jazz is not a jazz musician, but they are an African music player.
And Ethiopia has their own kind of music that's not jazz. So I was also surprised, to see this being added. And that's the reason why I would just love to know the sausage making process in which they got to select all this. And I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned in to the One Mic Show. We are going to be having Nonini Mgenge2ru later on in the show. So I want you to stay tuned. Anybody who has questions, type them up and let us know. And let us know now that Genge is actually one of the genres that's in the Grammys. Think about the Genge music you've been listening to for the last 20 years. And I want you, all the listeners, the audience, to think of a track and type it up that's Grammy worthy, like over the 20 years that you've been listening. Let's assume that this category was there all this time. Which track, anything, any Genge that you've listened to from Caliph Records, from wherever, Jua Kali, Nonini, Mahatma, all these Genge artists who are out there, just type up a song, like maybe that you were thinking about, or you think that this would have actually been worth being nominated for a Grammy.
So would you put K-South in there? Because K-South were they doing Genge, or was that Kapuka?
Now that's the confusing part, because there's this other genres of music in Kenya, K-South, na vambota na vipuli kofia ka bakuli na leta habari kama ket kasavuli. Would you call that Genge?
Well, it was Kapuka this, Kapuka that.
Sikiza tu K-South going public like a telephone booth.
And Abbas and Kina Johnny Vigeti, those guys they're hip hoppers.
Yeah. Kina Kalamashaka.
Yes. So do you then leave them out?
That's what I'm debating.
Or do you say that because Genge has encompassed them, or Genge is being recognized, they'll be thrown in within Genge, and of course not forgetting our very own OG.
Yeah. Respect the OG. OG does hip hop.
Yeah. So OG ataingishwa huko ndani pia. So because he's an African artist, because he doesn't make it in through the hip hop category.
Now that's the confusing part to me, especially with Genge being selected, because within Kenya there's already internal politics of what genre this music is, and people not wanting to be identified by this or that genre. People like Sauti Sol, like where will Sauti Sol be categorized? And I can see a number of comments coming in here.
I think there'll be a fusion between jazz and Amapiano.
Yeah, so I'll start here with June Oburu. June says, I like the topic today. June Oburu, asante sana, all the way from North Carolina.
Is this that June who's the dancer?
This is the one and only June Oburu.
The one with big hair?
The one with big hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Karibu kwa show.
Karibu sana kwa show. And then Slewed War, anasema Mosh, you're right. I think it's Amapiano. I think that was the music for AKA. Udima Dhenge, karibu sana to the One Mic Show. Then we also have Tabitha Njeri, our career expert. She says, I agree with Omosh. I'm worried that this will put African music on the sidelines and not get the global recognition the music deserves. So that's a debate that's still happening, that's still going on.
We've got our foot in the door. We didn't have a category.
We didn't.
Just think about it. And okay, just think of it this way, right? How long has Fela been dead?
A long time.
And remember,
a very, very long time.
Fela was known as that chap who had that music that everybody listened to everywhere liked, in the world. He just happened to be African.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then we have also jazz artists, guys like Jonathan Butler, who are African.
Yeah.
Then you have the reggae artists, the African reggae artists. Kina Alpha Blondy, people like that. So do you then say, okay, because now that we have an African category, then they would be thrown into the African category and they would not be recognized under the genre of music that they are actually hitting, or is it because because they are like, let's say Alpha Blondy is a reggae guy, right? So then you pull him from reggae and say because he's from Africa and he's singing reggae, then he's in the African category.
Yeah, I know.
And you no longer pick him under reggae.
Yeah, and here this is where in my view, right now we're at a point where the world is looking to Africa for music.
Everything.
All these record labels have recognized that. They discovered Afrobeat, but I think the other thing they've discovered is that there's so much beyond Afrobeat in Africa. So they're kind of trying to go and try to find what is there. And this is where I think, as Africans, we need to pick a lesson from the Indians. When we compare with the Indians when it comes to movies or even their own music, because sometimes with Indians, movies and music, they're all tied up. Like all Indian movies have music.
Music,
but
weather, and
they have their own awards. They have their own industry that can stand alone without recognition in the United States. They're selling their movies in other parts of the world from Bollywood. Their music is selling in other parts of the world without necessarily the U.S. touching them. And this is where I think Africans, we need to think in 3 dimensions. The reason why, I feel, which is bringing us to our next, question, which, I'm going to introduce the other people that we have in the studio to get different perspectives. There these selections, which I was going to ask, were these selections random, or was this a deliberate commercial attempt to get into other African music markets? Because Africa has had music for a very long time.
Correct.
It has recently, in the last few years, become very commercially viable. And then, coincidentally, the Grammys is now all over African music. In fact, when you look at these different genres, they've tried to spread the wealth across different parts.
They have no choice, because remember,
different parts of Africa.
The Grammys is supposed to be global, right?
Yes.
Which means you cannot say that you're going to pick one and leave the other out, or pick one region, leave the other region out. And if you look at that, you look at the categories, it looks like it's even very strategic in the way that they were picking, because at least every region, Imeguzwa,
is represented.
Now, we were asking about Sauti Sol, and to me, when I look at these categories, I think I would throw Sauti Sol under Afropop in terms of the type of music that they do. Even though for me, I think it's more R&B, but it has an element of Africanness to it, because we use the language. Swahili is used very heavily within Sauti Sol type of music.
Yes.
So they probably would fall under the Afropop category in terms of genres, but then in terms of still being picked for a Grammy, it would be under Best African Music Performance.
Okay. All right. Now, before we go to Uno Mike, and we also have a Tanzanian in the studio, he's going to introduce himself a little bit later on. I want to read some comments.
Bongo Flava is also in there.
Bongo Flava is also in there.
Yeah.
So we want to,
we want to recognize our watu makina sijui.
Yeah, I think they added it there ndo wasisikie vibaya. Genge imewekwa.
Wale wasanii wa ile TV station inaitwaje wale
Channel 5.
Hapana, wale
ama East Africa TV.
Hapana, wale wako na nini yao, wako na TV station yao. Wale wasewa ule msewa nini?
Azam.
Hapana.
Okay, we basi once you figured out
ule Diamond ule
Wasafi or the clean ones. Okay. Sawa.
Unajua unaweza sema hivi alafu tuseme Diamond and then all of a sudden tupate tuko na copyright issues.
Okay. Sawa. Yeah. By the way, unajua jina kama Diamond unaogopa hata kuisema kwa Facebook live stream, because yani those guys have copyrighted everything. You might just say Diamond followed by Platinum and you're blocked.
I cannot play a song from Wasafi.
Anyway, Slay Up anasema basically all of Caliph Records. I think this was in response to the question of which Genge music you think was Grammy worthy. And then Sleodwara anasema Kapuka. Kapuka is not Genge. Kapuka was actually the opposite of Genge.
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
In fact,
the beats, everything. In fact, they disliked each other.
They disliked each other. Kapuka. And then there was so DJ Tuchana sema Genge and Gengeton ama just Genge. You know, so that's a question.
Good question.
Yeah,
good question. But
yes.
I think if we say Genge, because you don't have to add tone behind it. Just imagine it's Genge Star.
Yeah,
so anything that comes after Genge, it could be Genge.
But so unajua ni kama reggae na reggaeton, but those are different.
But you see, reggae. Yeah. I could be wrong. I don't know if I don't think there's a reggaeton category.
I don't know. You know, like I'm not sure
because reggaeton goes under Latin music.
Okay, all right.
There is no reggaeton category. There is reggae, but there's no reggaeton.
Yeah, there's no reggaeton. Okay, and then hapa Udimadhenge anasema Nazizi. Nazizi was not Genge. You know, but I think Udimadhenge is saying Nazizi was Grammy worthy. And then DJ Tucha said, I don't think it's 90s Genge. I think it's Gengeton. And Genge is not 90s. DJ Tucha, you're showing your age. Genge is really not 90s. Wow. I would say Genge is 2000s.
And it's 2000s coming later.
Genge is 2000s. So hapo DJ Tucha,
then again,
DJ Tucha is revealing, I think he was born in the 50s, but that's a story for another day. And then Slayer Panasema, you know, like Ali said, I would like to know the process to adding these categories because there are so many categories in Kenya. That's very true. And
that now here comes the problem.
Yeah.
If you are to pick Kenya by itself and you pick the categories in Kenya,
there are too many.
There are a lot. Let's say let's say 10.
Yeah.
Let's just say pick 10.
Yeah.
That's Kenya alone. Then you go to our neighbors.
You have 50 countries.
Then you go to our neighbors DRC. You can't.
You can't.
You cannot work
you
at
absolutely
them all.
Can't.
You cannot. So at some point, you have to say, okay, we'll pick this because those are the ones that are popular or are getting some coverage.
Yeah.
You can see that those artists are slowly grinding, they're moving, and their people are doing things.
Yeah.
But they had to have sat down with stakeholders in the different regions of Africa to come up with this list.
Okay.
Granted, there's things in there that are missing because I think that if anything, maybe I would have tried to add Zouk in there somewhere.
But Kizomba was added there, so I think Kizomba they kind of lumped. They're different, yeah. They're different, yeah.
But then now, if you throw Zouk in there, that means sasa wale watu wa Caribbean umewaleta huko.
Yes. So yeah, it's gonna be a mix and mashup. Stephen Bati anasema Genge started making the genre, then the Mababis and Islando people started making their own names. I don't know whether we would categorize Genge as Islando, but you see where Caliph is, Apo Caliph, Isli, Biafra. But it's a unique place. It's not like Buruburu, Jericho.
Boss, Islando, okay.
No, I'm talking culturally.
Okay,
you know?
Okay.
But now let's start getting nuance. I'm talking culturally.
Let's go to geography, bwana.
And location. Hapa tutauliza Nonini. So there's the location that's called Eastlands, but culturally, ukienda Majengo, Biafra, Isli, California, culturally they're very different from guys of Jericho, sijui Uhuru, sijui Umoja, sijui Buruburu. They are very different. Like ata mtu wa Caliph akiongea na mimi leo.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. But see, isn't that just basically different neighborhoods? Ni kama kusema you're a guy of West. Msee wa West na Mada pengine mnaweza kuwa mnaingiana.
Yeah.
Lakini mkivuka tu muingie hapo nini
Langata
Dog Pound. Wacha hata Langata. Mvuke tu hapa Dog Pound.
Yeah.
Just over here ile shule inaitwaje?
Sunshine.
Upper Hill.
Upper Hill.
Don Bosco. Uvuke tu hapa Don Bosco.
Yeah.
Pap, which these days they're calling Upper Hill, but it never used to be called Upper Hill then. But anyway, ukivuka tu uingie hapa Kenyatta. You're now
in a different territory.
You're now in a different territory.
Yeah.
Completely. And it's not even a 10-minute walk.
Yeah, hata kama unauza bangi, wewe huwezi kuingia territory. Yeye na muuzaji bangi tofauti.
Lingua franca yao ni tofauti.
Okay.
So to me, I look at it as neighborhood, connectivity, because I went to school in Eastlands.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, by the time niliingia, once you vuka Nairobi River, at that point unajua where you are.
Yeah.
Ukishaingia ziwa uko hapa,
you have to be situationally aware.
Boss.
Yeah.
Hapa racetrack nini, and that was hiyo ndio ilikuwa neighborhood yangu.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, even the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, hata kama ulikuwa na mbota moja iko you have to wear it differently or don't wear it at all.
You have to be situationally aware.
Correct.
All right, so back to the comments to Sisao because they're coming in thick and fast. Stephen Batty says there was a tweet yesterday by Juakali saying that akina Ted Josiah didn't want Genge to progress. Hapa ni wapi clapping back for him. Now, real quick, I was there, you know, like when these wars were happening, you know, like we were the guys on the ground.
Yes.
We were the guys who were, you know, like going for these concerts, Nonini. And for me personally, where I was positioned, we were positioned in such a way that, you know, like culturally tuko accepted na watu wa Caliph, but at the same time, hii mziki inatoka karibu na kwetu, huku South Sea, for example.
Yes, correct.
You know, and then of course there were some of those upmarket areas. So I remember when these fights were happening, when Genge came out, there was so much controversy even on Capital FM at that time. I think if D'Souza was a presenter, you know, like Nonini was saying people should, because the original idea, they wanted to Kenyan music to have an identity called Genge.
And but not to be called local.
Yes, not to be called local.
Yes.
But because of, you know, like the classism that's there in Nairobi, and this was classism and nothing more.
Yes, it sure was.
What was South B, they started coming up with their own names. That is, tuite mziki yetu Bumba, tuite mziki yetu sijui nini, and then Kapuka pia ikatokea na nini. But it was really to try to distinguish themselves from how
to differentiate from
our to Caliph.
Yes.
You know, who are considered, you know, like at some point Caliph ilikuwa na uswahili kidogo, but in that side of town there was a point unafika where people would consider you, you know, like an oboho ama mtu ambaye, you know, like
yes.
So I think that was part of the problem, and that's why there was a division. And right now, you know, like you see where Genge has got, but that's a story for another day. We're gonna wait for Nonini. Nonini, by the way, is gonna be joining us a little bit later on, so prepare your questions.
Ujipange.
Yes,
na
he'll be talking about
fupi.
this.
Maswali fupi round.
And then Upper June is calling the DJs to join, and anamuita DJ Sani Sistuki. DJ Sani, Junoburu akikuita, unawacha kazi unafanya. Whatever you are doing, even if you're in the middle of a DJ set, in a wedding, unawacha unakuja kusikiza one mic show.
He might be, you know, holding the baby.
Or maybe, yeah. Or something like that. And then she's also tagged DJ Shinsky, DJ Banti, Brian Breeze, DJ Slim, Martin Feel Free, DJ JP. So nyote mnaambiwa mje hapa na June. And then, wow, these comments are so many. I don't know whether we can read all of them. Stephen Batty again says, my opinion, Kenyans don't want to unite and come up with one music genre. Kila mtu anataka kuleta yake. And that's what happens here, you know. And then Slayapa is talking about Frima, Junobura namuita Aidalisha, namwambia ni Mgenge. Oh my goodness, you know, like this is these comments are
ati Aidalisha ni Mgenge.
Aidalisha, sijui kama Aidalisha ni Mgenge, lakini unajua Aidalisha
no, I think she's in between.
No, she can fit in both places.
She's in between.
She can fit in both places. Anaweza kuwa Mgenge na anaweza kuwa pia Mkapuka. I just made up that. I don't know whether that exists. And then hapa Elolotsa,
I see her more of a Banjuka Chile.
Elolotsa anasema Uhuru Highway is the cutting line ya Eastlando. Okay,
100%.
Yeah.
Correct. That's why. So when my friend over here was
achana asema
no, it's all right.
wa Nairobi West.
It's all right.
No,
it's all right.
Me, I was giving a very nuanced. By the way,
yes.
by the way, let me tell you, mtu wa Buru, mtu wa let's even say Doni, mtu wa Umo. Like they will not be able to culturally,
yes.
You know, because Nairobi was very, even within those segments, it was very
extremely segmented.
You know, like California, Biafra, Isli, Majengo, Ziwa. I would put also
yes.
Ziwa. There was a little subculture.
Correct.
You know, around there. Ato kisikia Kiswahili kina Juakali wanaongea,
yes.
Kina Nonini wanaongea,
yes.
You know, haina ile aggressiveness. Yeah, this other side of Eastlando. There's a certain smoothness to it.
Yeah, yes.
And then
there's more of a bohoness now if ukiingia Jerry Shauri.
Hiyo sheng yao ilikuwa na, because walikuwa wamechanganyika na Waislamu sana,
yes.
Ilikuwa na Uswahili pia.
Correct.
Ilikuwa na a lot of Uswahili
and then
ndani
they
yake.
threw in other languages into it.
So it was a very,
on who the guys were around.
It was a very interesting mix. Na hapa Lolota anasema umoja was not Eastlando, and I think at this point tunaweza mkaribisha Uno Mike because tumekuwa tukiongea sana.
Uno Mike, karibu
ajitete.
Unajitetea kutoka nini daraja la Kangemi au unajitetea huku ukiwa ujavuka sakafu hapa umoja?
najitetea kama Mkenya.
Okay. Okay.
For Jembe, you don't even know what colors on the flag.
You're taking the neutral stance.
Boss,
You don't even know the colors on the flag.
Mimi ni Mkenya. Mupenda musipende.
You could be more. Tell us more about Islando and Umo.
Mimi ni Mkenya. Wewe si nini wewe msema pumu sijui nini sijui wapi. Digivia nawe nonsense.
In fact, I would add Pumwani and Shauri Moyo to that mix. That subculture.
Yes.
That subculture.
That whole area.
Yes.
But you see, when you hit Ziwa and you hit Majengo, Pumu is already included.
Yes, Pumu is already included.
So is Isili and so is Caliph.
Okay. Tuwafunze hawa watu kuhusu
It's all one WhatsApp group. And then uvuke up, and then now you shuka now Bama.
Yeah.
And you know once you shuka Bama, now you're getting into Ololo. And then you start now.
Yeah, sa Ololo hapo umeingia sa different territory sasa.
Sindio, but you see what hii kuvuka Bama ndio inakungisha into Ololo.
Yeah, hapo karibu na City Stadium sasa.
Yeah, once you shaenda hapo nini Mtumba, you're in.
Yeah, okay.
Once
Slam mezusha hapa. Anyway, I was going to go back kidogo. And I think most have seen the interview, whatever Nonini posted, I think a few days back once Genge was added.
Correct.
In the terms of genesis of Genge.
Yes.
Because for a long time ilikuwa inaitwa local.
Yeah, local.
Yeah. Local artists, local music.
That's what we always knew it as.
Yeah, but at one point people were like, okay, then we don't want it to be called local, let's give it a name.
Yeah.
And no one came up with a name. Absolutely. Hata hao Ted Josiah, in as much as they wanted to distinguish and differentiate themselves from which I understand, because you mnacheza muziki za kina Ali, ile wa mababi, alafu kuna maumbo wake na lolota ololo nini.
Miss kwa babi
Gather priest.
Mimi nilikuwa kote.
Ulikuwa Mkenya?
Zizi. Miss kwa Mkenya.
He was not Mkenya. He was a chap of Magadi.
Magadi.
Yeah, chap of Magadi.
Mjukuu wa Masai. Hapo basi.
So the genesis was that. And of course, as you have it, and Nonini and Jokali have said it, at one point, wanabangaiza tu, they're like, let's just call it Genge, Genge la watu. It's music for the people, music for the masses.
Yes.
Now, and Genge picked up, ikaanza kuitwa Genge.
Yep.
And
right?
it's stuck.
And it stuck. And I don't think maybe the idea was for it to be recognized as music to be recognized as Kenyan music.
Yes. The way Tanzania has bongo flavor.
Not to be called local.
Yeah. Okay.
But the idea was for it to be Kenyan music, which is Genge. So when you have Genge, unajua ni Kenyan music. It's just like when you say bongo, unajua tu ni PZ.
Yeah.
And under the umbrella of bongo, you have everyone.
Yeah.
Mwana Efe, all those guys.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, it's still bongo. So now with Genge, Eric Wainaina, out at Josiah, Sauti Sol.
Yes, there was a classism that was coming.
All those now, ironically,
they ganged up.
Umbrella yao itakuwa Genge.
Unless they ingia under Afropop.
But coming out of Kenya, the
yeah.
umbrella under which they will be identified
correct
is going to be Genge.
At this
That
point.
is it. At this point.
Yeah.
And Omosh is right. There's so much music, and we're going to listen to a few snippets from Muzi, who I would have loved for him to be here.
Who's this Muzi guy?
Muzi Wananjero of Jabali Africa. Ata Ololo, Elolota. Gabia Kangora.
Number is 202-683-4570 *5 to speak.
So it's one of those, I think you said it. In Kenya there's so much. There's Benga. There's maybe ile Momboko. Come on, Kikuyu.
There's
a lot. Yeah.
I mean,
yes, a lot.
And
Mohangla. There's a lot. But I think Elolota pointed it out, and I think some guys have said it. I think the validity of the Grammys in Aisha, in Adidimi, it's just flickering away.
So that's why they're now trying to,
because it's a new source. Remember,
they have to be inclusive.
Remember when Red Sun signed a contract with
with Sony?
It was a big thing.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Whereas most artists here on this side of the whatever the ocean, many of them wametoka huko. Hizo labels are independent.
They're but there was an interesting comment that came on the Breakfast Club, the radio show that's hosted by Charlamagne the God and DJ Envy. They had a very interesting take, which I had never thought of it that way. They were saying, they're basically saying that hip hop is currently dead. And part of the reasons they're giving why hip hop is dead is because they said all these artists, first of all, artists stop thinking or that they need mentorship because of all these new platforms that had come out. People thought that they could stream their way to success. They no longer do radio. They no longer, and they were saying on the contrary, Afrobeat that's so successful, Afrobeat artists still see the importance of radio. They still do radio. They still, do those things.
The appearances
that hip hop artists used to do a long time ago, and they're the ones who are seeing success right now.
Yeah, but you see, okay, I'll say this. Waafrika sana sana ni watu wa radio. Can we agree that? like even mashinani.
I think you're right.
No, we are radio people.
Yes.
I think you're right.
But they do radio
TV,
even
but
when
there's
they
another
come
side
here
to
the
this.
US.
But
Yes.
keep going. I'll hit you with the other side.
Yeah. We are radio people, right? So now, another thing is when it comes to, I think artists here, their idea of, I think for a long time, in order for you to have made it, you needed to be signed to a label. That was
yes,
correct.
That was standard.
That was standard.
At a certain point.
That's where the money was. They did the marketing. They pushed for
everything.
you.
But however, when if you guys remember the show that used to come, it was I think on MTV or VH1, behind the scenes.
Yes.
You find that most of those guys who signed those lucrative deals ended up being were actually poor. Their songs are playing.
They are making
They're on
hits.
rotation.
Yeah.
They're making hits, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe albums are selling or whatever you want. But if TLC, you find out that
but they have little
they're making
to show
50.
for it.
They little to show for it because of the contracts.
Everything was a subtraction.
Yes, because
every single thing was a subtraction.
Even Chameleon, at one time, the other day I was listening to him. At one point in time, like if you decide to do an audit of your contract, you'll find out that the record labels wanakufinyilia. At one point, he got somebody's auditor to come and do his audit. He was lacking $600,000.
Wow.
So at one point, I think, with the stories coming out, people are like, let me be independent. So who comes out with the idea of being independent and distribution? Master P.
Yes.
With no limit, right?
Yeah.
All he told them was, I want a distribution deal.
Yeah.
You can take 15%, I'll take 85%.
Yeah.
Wapende wasipende, akaanza kupewa this, but ultimately what I ended up doing, he was given a distribution deal.
And I think some of those independent deals work well for artists who are very successful. That's like a small percentage, but I think we live in a world where like we've been transitioning from those labels to independence, and I think people have not there's some people who've not figured out the right balance and know where to be, because this independence thing is not necessarily going to work for everyone, but everyone has been moving to that because everyone feels like I can do my video and it's gonna go, I'm gonna post it on YouTube, it's gonna go viral. So there's a lot of dependence on virality more than
socio.
Yeah, and and sometimes what is now becoming clear is that streams, sometimes a lot of streams do not necessarily mean you're making a lot of money. And real quick, to take a trajectory in this conversation, we have a Tanzanian in the studio. I'm gonna let him introduce I'm gonna let him introduce himself na tueleze kidogo kuhusu vile watu kule Tanzania wamepokea kuhusu Bongo Flava kuwa mojawapo wa mziki ambazo kwamba zitakazochaguliwa katika Grammy Awards. Karibu sana.
Naongea pia juu ya story ya dola.
Okay, mimi naitwa Eddie Fundi. Nashukuru karibia kipindi.
Karibu ya microphone kidogo.
Asante.
Usiogope.
Usiogope bwana.
Usione haya.
Hamna cha kuona haya. Mimi mwenyewe sikujua kama Bongo Flava imeadd kwenye Grammy. Nimeona tu kwenye Facebook. Jamaa mmoja anaitwa promo Mr. Guy Ligati. Kaona sema okay, Bongo Flava iko pia. Ndio akawa na push artist bwana. Bongo Flava iko kwenye Grammy, so push kazi zenu za Bongo Flava, fanyeni vitu. Maki onekana wao ndio walipush hivyo vitu, kupo yeye DMK, Diamond walikwenda wakapushi
kina Babu Tale niliwaona pia.
Yes, wakapushi hiyo kitu. So wamepost naambia some artists waanze kujipromote kwenye muziki yao.
Okay.
Sasa mimi kafikiria Bongo Flava peke yake. Kuna nyimbo sasa hivi sio kama Bongo Flava. Maana Bongo Flava ukiangalia ilikuwa kama vile kama unasema Genge music. Waimbaji walikuwa ni hip hop tu. Ndio Bongo Flava inajulikana ilipoanza.
Ilikuwa hip hop
peke yake.
Sasa kina Professor J kwa mfano ungewaita wale hip hop artist
kina TMK,
Bongo Flava kama Human Nature. Marem Mangwaya
na je yule Mike T Mnyalo.
Mike T hiyo wote wale wote kwa katika Bongo Flava. Sasa hivi imekuja hii muziki wa sasa kidogo kuna line kidogo. Sasa pia kwa ita Bongo Flava. Yote imetoka kwa sababu ya Bongo Flava. Kama hapo kwa unasikia mko mnasema jina kama huyu hata kwenye category gani, yeye kwenye muziki gani. Mimi nafikiria hiyo gang music pia ni nzuri. Mimi pia nilikuwa nafuatilia sana Nonino katika muziki yake lakini
najua kali.
Sasa hii muziki yao iko kama vile ni hip hop.
Correct. Yes.
Hiyo kitu ni nzuri lakini sasa tuna muziki mingi. Sasa kiko katika kategori moja inachanganya watu. Itafanya kidogo watu sile muziki gani.
Sasa Saida Karoli utamweka wapi? Ama ni Bongo?
Yeye ni Bongo Flava.
Okay. No, Saida Karoli lakini utekele Bongo Flava. I mean, I know ile remix ya Diamond.
But yeye ni Bongo. I mean, how else would you identify?
Lakini ile chambua kama karanga si kuna jina muziki inaitwa muziki inaitwaje? Sitaki kusema ni singeli. Kuna jina yake hiyo muziki iko nayo.
Si Mduara?
So Mduara.
Sio Mduara.
Mduara ni kama vile kama ile muziki ya Mombasa. Chakacha. Hiyo sio itaika kwa sababu ni kama vile ni
it's traditional.
Traditional.
Right? Yeah.
Tradition kwa sababu ni kabila wa haya. Sasa ile sio itaika kwenye ni gani?
Ina category yake. Alafu kuna category nyingine kama singeli pia.
Sasa yote iko kwenye Bongo Flava itachanganya lakini that's all kwa sababu
it's the umbrella that they've given us for now. If they can open more doors, we take it.
Lakini hiyo kitu cha kwanza kuitambua kuweka kwenye Grammy ni nzuri. Kitu kimoja ni kizuri.
Yes, so at least sasa unajua mtu akija mtu wa Tanzania sasa anaweza tuseme msanii wa Tanzania anaweza toa muziki yake na akaeka application anasema okay sasa I'm applying as an Bongo Flava genre under the African performance category.
Lakini kwa sababu napenda nyenye kwa sababu kama gang anajua ni mtu fulani amegundua ile neno.
Genge.
Kama huyo mtu Nonino. Kama ile jina sasa ile yeye atakuwa na miliki ile gang neno lile.
Sasa kuna siasa hapo ndani tayari kuna siasa ya nani ambaye aligundua hilo jina ama nani alianzisha muziki. Kuna siasa ambayo Nonini akija hapo baadaye kidogo atatuelezea. Na najua hapa watu wengi walikuwa wanashangani kwa nini atumuonyeshi Eddie ndio huyo hapo. Sasa mnaweza kumuona
wameona sura yake.
Wamemwona sasa walikuwa analia kwa nini video hakuna.
Amevaa jezi chafu ama hiyo ni jazi.
Amevaa jazi iliyochanika.
Chafu.
Anyway, yes, sorry about that. Our video is back, but at least mlikuwa mnatusikiza. At least I can tell you guys were paying attention. Eddie.
Sasa mimi naeleza sasa. Kwa kama ile Bongo Flava, sisi Bongo Flava pia hamna mtu mwenye kumiliki neno. Hata sijui nani. Inaweza kuwa Master P-Funk
Majani.
Yeye ndo nyimbo zake karibu katika nyimbo zote za zamani. Yeye ndo production yake.
Na kulikuwa na ile production house ilikuwa inaitwa Bongo Records. Sasa hiyo Bongo Records ndo Bongo Flava ilitoka ama
hapo sina kwa sababu yeye ni Bongo Records ya kwake yeye.
Okay.
Yeye ndo alianzisha ile
hiyo Bongo Records.
Bongo Records. Sasa muziki yeye ndo ameproduce nyimbo zote za nyingi za Bongo Flava ndo yeye.
Sasa kina watu kama Matonya walikuwa hapo ndani nini kwa hiyo studio yake. Okay.
Lakini
sasa the early guys.
Yes.
Matonya nyimbo nyingi sana za Bongo Flava utazoka. Hata kama hii nyimbo ya tukusaidiaje
Professor J
na
Feruz
hupo ile nyimbo. Alafu kuna msanii mmoja
Stara Thomas,
msanii mmoja wa Uganda alichukua ile nyimbo akaika kwenye ile movie. Kuna movie fulani kuna movie fulani ya Chess.
Okay, sijaona hiyo hapo.
Ile nyimbo ile kaimba huyu artist wa Uganda anaitwa
nani?
Chameleon. Sasa akumuomba
P-Funk. Alichukua bila ruhusa.
P-Funk akaenda akaishtaki.
Oh la la.
walimnipa.
Nice.
Umeona?
Akapokea donge.
Sasa ukiona hivyo vitu vinatupa sisi motisha kwamba okay, watu wanafuatilia muziki wetu iko mizuri, nafanya hivi. So lazima iko Bongo Flava itakuwa nzuri.
Yeah, I know. Na unajua especially Bongo Flava right now kwa maoni yangu ni kama imekuwa yani kama ni one dimensional. Hapo awali, hapo zamani ukirudi 2000 2001, 2002, 2003 kulikuwa na diversity.
Yeah.
For example, ukimsikiza Mike Tim Nyalu alikuwa na style yake tofauti na kina Mangwaya walikuwa na style yao tofauti. Juma Nature. Lakini ukiangalia mziki wa Tanzania sasa hivi, mziki wenyewe okay, I wanna say kuna brands fulani Tanzania zimegrow, lakini mziki wenyewe kwa upana hauja grow, kwa sababu ukirudi Kenya uulize mtu ni msanii yupi Tanzania unayemjua, watakutajia labda hawatazidi 4 5. Yeah.
Itakuwa Diamond, Zuchu, Harmonize na Rayvanny.
Yeah. Na back in the days usiku ulikuwa unaweza kuwataja Bwana Misosi, Sogidogi.
Muziki yako inakuwa yani hata zile flows zao zinakuwa tofauti.
Tofauti kabisa.
Totally different.
Alafu kulikuwa na wale kana Mashaka walikuwa naitwa Wateule.
Sasa kuna nyimbo moja limba Nonino na Juma Nature.
Yeah, kuna nyimbo Nonini na Juma Nature.
Ile ngoma ile si mchezo. Sasa hebu angalia tofauti.
Tofauti kabisa.
Unaona kabisa kwamba huyu ana style yake na style yake. Sasa hivi kila mtu anakopi style moja. Kama tumeingia sana Amapiano. Sio mbaya, lakini sasa
kila wimbo
na Amapiano sasa ina affect Bongo Flava. Unajua Nigeria, muziki wa Nigeria ulivyoingia Kenya ndo sasa Amapiano imeingia Tanzania. Na EY amewaonya watu, lakini kuna watu ambao hawajamsikiza.
Hawajui
na bado wanaendelea kuproduce hizo muziki.
Hawaelewi kwamba look at hapa Marekani. Kuna kati kuna New York.
Yes.
Hip hop ya New York.
Baadaye ikachukua Atlanta.
Yes.
Kabla Atlanta kwanza LA ilichukua version yake.
So sasa watu hawajakopiana hata siku moja.
Kila mtu ana style yake.
They never kopiana kabisa. Huyu atamjua kabisa this one from New York, huyu mtu fulani. Sasa ile inasaidia kuweka muziki kukua. Sasa hizi mnakopiana ukakopi, inakuwa hakuna
sini hela. Unajua wanaangalia hela.
That's a problem.
That's the whole point of it. And remember, they're in business. They're not in business to promote culture, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
Right? And diversity.
Okay.
You're the problem.
But mnaua sasa ile.
Correct. You're very right. Wanaua, because sahi every single track, or should I say, out of 10 tracks that is coming out of Bongo, 7 ni Amapiano.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned into the One Mic Show. We are shortly going to be getting, like the audio clips from Muzi of Jabali Africa. He had some very interesting perspectives. Nonini Mgenge2ru is gonna be live with us. So prepare your questions. And for all those who wanted to see Eddie Memona, hapa people were saying, Tabitha alikuwa anasema, why don't they want us to see Eddie? Ndio Memona.
Wow.
Yeah, watu walikuwa hapa washaanza kunungunika kulia. But I'm glad that you guys were paying attention.
They're the ones who zoom in when they are looking at messages on WhatsApp.
Yeah. Na alafu hapa Slay amesema it's because he is Manu. He's a Manu fan and the hosts are not.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Stephen Bati hapa anaongeza.
Please tell her what team you support so that she understands.
All right, Stephen Bati hapa anasema, that's why I tell any stranger I see with a Manchester United shirt. Okay, all right. And then hapa Washeke anasema, copying is killing creativity and originality. That's very true.
Yes.
And then Stephen Bati anasema, yep, Houston Chop and Screw and New Orleans Bounce has never changed and still play their versions together with other music genres. So yes, so that's very good. And Uno Mike, I don't know whether you have those clips ready. We want to get the views from Muzi of Jabali Africa. He has a very interesting take. So so we're gonna play these clips because you see people are looking at this from very different perspectives. I mean, of course, we're all happy that East African music is getting some recognition. Not only East African, this is African music, because remember the previous African artists who were winning Grammy Awards, they were winning it under the global category, lumped with everyone plus their grandmother and their ex-girlfriends and everyone in all one big group. But now there's a separate category. There's a separate category for African musicians. And just to remind the listeners, some of these genres that are going to be included in this African music performance category are Afrobeat, Afrofusion, Afropop, Afrobeats with an S, Alte. Someone tell us where Alte, A-L-T-E. Never heard of it before. Someone tell us where this is from. Amapiano from South Africa, Bongo Flava from Tanzania, Genge from Kenya, Kizomba from Angola, Chimurenga are from Zimbabwe, according to DJ Omosh Fire. Someone confirm that for us. High Life from Ghana, Fuji. You know, like the only Fuji I know is that old film, what were old school cameras, Fuji. I don't know where that's from. Someone tell me. And then Kwasa. Someone also tell me where Kwasa is from. Ndombolo, of course, we know this is from DR Congo. Mapuka from Ivory Coast. Ghanaian Drill. Afro House. This is now, I think, South African music. And then there's South African hip hop and Ethiopian jazz. You know, like all these genres were added onto this category. And then I see, you know, like some comments coming in here. Slay says, do you think this will kill or affect Afrima because Grammy now gives African artists a bigger platform? So I think I'm going to let Omosh quickly speak on that as Uno Mike gets those clips from Muzi of Jabali Africa ready.
I don't think Afrima is going to be affected. In fact, if anything, the fact that now you have more possibility of African artists being Grammy nominated, it's probably going to shed more light on Afrima, because you never know who's watching Afrima. Because remember, the way the Grammys work, it's about nominations, and the nominations are the people who nominate, or should I say, who vote for the nominated artists, are normally in the Grammy. What are they called? They're Grammy members. They're members of the.
They're members of the academy.
They are members of the academy,
Yeah.
and to be a member of the academy, you need to be introduced by 3 existing members.
Wow.
And so once you get introduced, and so Uagani Mchezo ni kama it's almost like it's politicking basically. So what you do ukiwa humo ndani, what you'll end up doing is, like, let's say for instance, me, you, and Uno are in there, right? And then what we'll do is we will each nominate people who we know that when our music comes in or something that we have interests in, we can get our people who we brought in to vote for that. So basically, it may not be that your music is necessarily the best. It's just that you are able to garner the votes for that music. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So and that's how you find somebody like Sikwa Obaya, and her music is great, is Angelique Kidjo.
Yes.
She'll win. Put her up against any of these jokers. She
Yeah,
will
she'll
always
win.
win because everybody will vote for her.
Because they already know her too.
Correct.
Yeah.
But then now you bring in, you know, what's the guy from SA who passed away on stage?
The
the
white
Wemba.
guy.
Huh?
No, not Papa Wemba
the
from
guy
SA.
of Big Flexer.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember
yes.
his name. Someone is gonna remind us here on the comments.
Yes. So when you put his name up for a song, chaps are gonna be like, we don't know who this guy is.
Yeah, they don't know who he
you know?
is. Despite
or even let's say Nasty C. You
Yeah.
know, you're like, first of all, Nasty C, pana. And
Yeah,
then you
he's
put
nasty.
Yeah, you put Jina Ake next to Angelique Kidjo, because
Yeah.
remember they're in the same category.
Yeah.
Right? And then you might put in Yusundio in there. I mean,
yeah, that's
Please.
no comparison. Or Baba Mal from Mali.
you have no hope.
There's no.
And they all
Costa
go with
Teach,
originality.
that's a
yes,
name.
Costa Teach, yes.
Yeah.
And they all go with originality.
Yeah.
Which is why the last category that the last global category, it was the South African guys who won. Remember
Yes.
the one that was up with Kinabana Bueno.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Nigerians were complaining.
And but when you look at what work went into that art, you're like, these guys are actually playing these instruments, and this thing has been composed, it has been arranged, it hasn't been layered.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Imepangwa ikapangika.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what
So
artists
Let-
or
let
people
me-
who are voting in the
me ask you a
Grammys
question.
are saying. Yeah.
if you have all these different categories for Africa, so when the Grammy choose who win, they could put all these categories together and say this is best from Africa.
Yeah,
Or-
so this
Yes.
African music
Yes.
performance is gonna be one big category.
It's one big category that
Yeah.
includes all of these ones that have been mentioned. So you can find watu wa Bongo humo, watu wa Genge huko, watu wa Chumurenga, watu wa Amapiano. You'll find all of them can be selected.
The problem is previously
before they were not being selected
in a category called global.
Before they were just global, which includes
your
Latino.
people with your people from Nicaragua.
So now who's going to
or Tax and Caicos?
So the fans going to vote for those?
No, not fans.
It's the members of the
members
academy.
of the academy.
Yeah.
Which could be,
It's not
if
a
you're a
popularity
member of the
contest.
academy, you get to vote.
Oh, okay.
And if I'm a member, I get to vote. So let's say I love reggae music and you're a guy who loves African category, but I know you. Then I will solicit you, so you vote for my stuff and you solicit me to vote. So we
Okay.
do an exchange.
Okay.
So it's going to be hard for East African to be win on this.
It depends.
No, it depends.
It depends. It's all about
it was
votes.
harder. It was more difficult when you're lumped with people from Nicaragua.
Yes, now
or
it's
from,
easier to be
from the
selected.
Virgin Islands.
It's
you
easy
know,
to be
or
selected.
from some random places.
Yes.
You know, like Papua New Guinea. You know, like, but now you're only lumped with other Africans. So
Yes.
at least you have.
So hapa
better
utangangana tu na watu
Yeah.
wenyu. And then ukiwa na hawa watu wenyu unangangana nao hapa. A lot of times, if you see the people who are even nominated for the Grammys, they are probably members of the
academy.
Of the academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say you got your music from Kenya.
Correct.
So from that Kenya, which artist, they go pick up to be selected to the Grammy?
It depends on the year and the song, right? So let's say, for instance, if we were to wanted to pick Sauti Sol, did they release something? Because, Grammy year 2024 will mean it's a song that was released within the year.
But let me ask you, for the Grammys, do they, because a lot of these fly-by-night awards that you see, I don't want to mention some of them, you see people, you have to apply, like if you have to enter your song. So is Grammys the same? Like, do you have to enter your song if you think your song is Grammy worthy? Do you have to enter your song, or you have to wait to be picked?
No, I think you have to enter your song. And the song has to meet certain categories or criteria. You have to enter your song.
It has to qualify for that category.
For that category, and that's why there's an art and a science to it. And of course, as you know, we're going to be playing back clips from Muzi.
From Muzi, yeah.
And Muzi, even though he sings under, let's say, an African genre, when they were nominated for their Grammy, it was under children's category.
Yeah, it was under children's category.
Because they did a children's album.
Yeah.
Which basically, and there were many people. So it was a collab of children, collab of groups or people, and there were like maybe say 10 people, and some of the artists on that, I think even his son, I think was one of who sang. His son sang or did something, so he got credit in one of those songs. So he was also Grammy nominated for this particular children's album, and had they won, then now you would have said that they are Grammy winning, but not because they are Grammy winning under the African category. They were Grammy winning under the children's category. It was a children's album. So kuna vile unaweza ingia. You don't have to ingia through the African. Kama wewe, kama unajua vile kupigana na hiyo siasa, you can go in under different genre. Pengine uingia na reggae, like the last guys who won for reggae were a white group.
Yeah.
So I mean,
from Virginia.
So again,
ilileta noma
again,
ilileta noma mbaya sana.
But that means that sasa watu wa reggae need to style up. They need to step up. They shouldn't just be, laissez-faire and assume because I'm singing, kondani. No. Ama unaweza chant. Heck no.
And then, also talking about Afrima, I remember, but this is a topic for another day. There were two Afrimas. There was one with a double M and one with one M. So I don't know which one
I
is
think
which.
she's talking about Afrima the main. I don't think she's talking about Afrima ile Fly by Night.
Ile wa Kenya. Ile they were just nominating Kenyans.
Fly by Night.
Okay.
Because some of you guys have been nominated. In fact, some of you guys have even won awards. I don't know why you guys didn't go pick your awards.
And then hapa Stephen Bati anasema, by the way, when Nonini comes, ask him about Achuli wa Caliph. He sang one song which corroborates DJ Tucha's comment about when Genge started. It had no name. And then Rasvik anasema, you nominate me, meaning you nominate him to the academy so that he can go and vote for Genge.
But us guys are not members of the academy.
So I don't know.
We need chaps. I know two people who are members of academy. I need one more to get me in.
And then later on uta explain, Slay anataka kujua how you become a member.
I think I already said it. You need 3 people who are
Yes.
members, sitting members of the academy, to nominate you.
Okay, all right. And then let me see. Washek is asking, is Alpha Blondy categorized solely as a reggae artist? That's a question you're going to answer later. I think
we tried
you're
to
ready.
answer that, and
Yeah.
yes.
And I think, and I also think we have a caller. We're gonna let you. We're gonna just keep it hapo. We're gonna let you talk. And then Stephen Batty says, I think Victoria Kimani is part of the Grammy Awards committee. If you can get her, she may have some information. I remember her saying that on Clubhouse one time. Very interesting.
She's probably a member.
Yeah.
She's a member, just like some other people we know. And now that means I know 3 people.
Yeah. Okay.
So I could probably get somebody nominated. Lakini ukujonione
So,
after the bell rings.
We take the call.
let's take the call first, and then we're gonna go to Muzi's comments.
Can that person give us their social security
Yeah,
number?
and also stay tuned. Nonini will be coming up.
4100. Thank you for calling the One Man Show. Hello.
And what's your social security number?
This is 1-800 Elolota. So
yes.
Aya, Elolota.
Aya. Tupange kabisa sasa kazi.
Category E.
thank you very much for guys picking up my call. Man, I have very mixed feeling about this so-called, inclusion. This is a classic affirmative action, move on African music.
Okay.
We all know, those of you who have been following up, the history of the Grammys, and then forgive me for giving you guys a little history. The Grammys, as we all know, they are going down, or they're already down. Like literally, the music industry today, there's a level of literally, I don't care about what the Grammys say. And you guys, in the same conversation, on the same line, you guys mentioned about independent record labels and record companies who, thanks to the Godfather, the artist formerly known as Prince, he brought in the revolution of music, independent music. Now, that said, let me, just focus on the African aspect. You cannot take African music and put it into small boxes, like the way the Grammy is doing today. Even if we say, wow, we are being put in the public domain, Kenyan music. I mean, if you put Genge music, how many people in Kenya play Genge music? There's a variety of Gengeism, yes, but you cannot, Parapara is not a Genge musician. Sauti Sol is not Genge music. No. If you keep going and going, what is Genge music in that category? Who is going to be those nominees from the Genge aspect? This is just another way of, look, these two little Pizza Hut, companies on the side. Me, I'm going to buy all these guys and put them in one box and then package them in the name of, I'm including them in the whole deal. Let's not be fooled by this. I support the idea of, talking about it, but honestly, this is one way, or we're going to now start bringing in, or, confirming the division of the African art industry. We cannot start bringing in and say, we've introduced Amapiano. Okay, Amapiano. Then what? Is that the South African aspect, or we're going to bring in the Coupé de Calais, or are we going to bring in the Kizomba? I mean...
Let me ask you a quick question, Elolota. Elolota, let me ask you a quick question. If it was your choice, let's stick to Kenya here. If it was your choice, because you asked, for example, how many Genge artists do you have in Kenya? How many people sing Genge in Kenya? If it was your choice, yes. What category of Kenyan music would you have chosen to be included? Because Kenya has so many genres, and there's no possible way in which they could have included all those genres, and of course Africa at large. So which genre would you have said maybe this is what will mostly identify with Kenya? Elolota.
And that's the catch-22 question. And that's if you try to bring in Genge music now, in Kenya, if you roll the camera back into the Kenyan music scene, the Camaros are going to ask, okay, I guess we are not, that's a no-go zone for us, okay, we'll chill out. Sauti Sol is supposed to say, well, I guess we shouldn't be even part of this because we don't play Genge. You see what I'm saying? So if we were to do this, Grammys are just scrambling around to find something to put their grip on, to die. But these are just kicks of a dying horse, from my own critique. It is kicks of a dying horse. Why am I saying that? When we used to have the so-called reggae category, it never mattered whether the musician is from Jamaica, whether he's from Africa, whether he's from South America. It was reggae, and everybody has to be put there. Like, okay, you are Burning Spear, your culture, Joseph Hill, you're Bob. Like, bring your shit. Excuse my French. Put it there. Let's hear what you have. If it is hip hop, there never used to be East Coast versus West Coast, but no, it was like, do you got it or you don't? You got it or you don't got it. So it is simple. If you bring in African music and you start bringing in, we are introducing Genge, we are introducing Bongo, we are introducing Kupedikali, Kizomba, how and what in the world are you going to do that? Unless you bring in the Kora Awards, and you say, okay, now we got all these African, movements going on. Who is the best Kizomba? Who is the best Amapiano? Who is the best Bongo? If you feel you're East African and you want to do, Kizomba, you go to the Kizomba aspect and just bring a Kizomba hit, and we see what you got, and you'll be put in the Kizomba category. You cannot come here today and bring, let's say, Master P and say, okay, Master P is competing in Genge. Really?
Now, Lelotsa, remember, even those African awards, like, for example, the Kora Awards, there was also criticism for them because they had categories such as Francophone, Lusophone, I don't know what phone, yet they had no category, like categories based on foreign languages. But there was no category for Swahili that was spoken more than some of those languages.
I didn't support that. I didn't support the Francophone, the Anglophone thing. It is all about the music aspect. It's not the language. Because if you go into language, the music scene, the art scene will just, it's going to be a can of worms. You cannot go into language, because if you go into language, you guys were mentioning, the South American beat, the Caribbean beat, just so Middle Eastern.
Okay.
We will go deep into this stuff. That was just a flaw in the whole organization. But if you come to music, it's a style. It's the same way you go into the music history, you get classical music. You have to have the allegro and the allegro so, and is it slow? Is it fast? Is it in 3 parts? Is it an opera? Is it an aria? You have to put them in that aspect so that you manage to package them in the industry perspective.
All right.
Because it's an industry now.
All right. Asante sana Lolotsa. Just to wrap up, tell us, what your solution would be. Like, if you're the one who was in control, you want to grow African music, forget about the Grammys, what exactly would you do, briefly, in terms of coming up with a way of recognizing, African music that's good? Elolotsa.
I'm a realist, and I totally believe in, and also, optimistic. I wish we could capitalize on Kora and develop it into this, understanding institution of the African art scene, because it's the only way. It's the only way we could have come up and say, you know what, Africa is diverse. We cannot say, African jazz, African cultural. You see, if you go, like my friend Fundi, he just mentioned to us here, like if you go to Tanzania, you cannot just categorize Tanzanian music into Bongo. There is the guys who are from the other side of the country who have a very, very different beat from Wakina Diamonds and all these other, harmonizers. And if you come to Kenya, You cannot compare coast music to bara music. Those are two different worlds. Then they speak a different musical language. But you can put categories that understands that and put it here. If you come to, for example, like the Kenyan Music Festival, the Kenyan Music Festival is a little bit a microism of what I would come up with. Different categories of music. Is it a folk song? Is it a classical? Is it an adaptation? Is it a composition? Is it just a creativity? Is it a modern, mix of whatever, different classes, so that you don't marginalize people. They all have a little piece of the pie. They can actually say, you know what, I'm going to get into the music festival and I'm going to compete on the set piece part, which brings in the Western music. I'm going to get into the music festival and go under composition. I'm going to compose my song and put it on the main, platform and see who got it for me. So it's that level. If you bring it in the Grammys here in America, these Grammys don't understand, the crap about African music. And now they're trying to make we feel like we are the other. I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't. I mean, why does the Grammy validate my art? No. Does the Grammy have to validate my existence? No. Have I been in existence before? Yes. Am I still here? I am still here. Afrobeat today. We just finished the World Cup. World Cup, my friends. What music was playing on the loudspeaker? African music. Where in the world have you ever had that happen before? In the centuries of world music, they actually downplayed us when the African the World Cup was being held in South Africa. They brought us this woman singing Zaminamina,
Shakira, and she claimed it's its own. Yeah. Anyway, Elolota, asante sana. We're running out of time. Nonini is gonna be coming up. Just stay tuned. We may want to talk to you again later. But asante sana for your comments, and we look forward to hearing back from you again. So Uno, do we? Are we gonna go to Muzi, or are we gonna go? I think we're gonna go straight to Nonini because the time is running out. So just confirm, you're gonna confirm if he's available. In the meantime, I'm gonna come back to the studio. There were some comments here that were coming in while Elolota was talking, because people have very strong feelings about this. Celestial wants to know the process of selecting the categories in the Grammys. We're going to talk about that later. And then Stephen Batty says more categories helps. It removes the gatekeepers issue. The ones who are choosing to have their way, Akina DJ Pinye and Ted Josiah, allegedly may have stifled a lot of artists. So sometimes when they make more categories, you avoid this idea of gatekeeping, in my opinion. One of the reasons why I personally do not subscribe to this blame DJ Pinye or blame Ted Josiah idea, and that's just my personal opinion, is when they got out of the way, if once they got out of the way, we would start seeing people get massively more successful than they were when they were apparently the gatekeepers. Then I would say maybe there was something. But then when they got out of the way, you still had a lot of struggling artists, which I think goes to show there's something, there's a fundamental issue within the industry which will not necessarily be tied to one or two people. Like sometimes it's implied, but that's just my opinion. That's just how I see it. And then there was a comment here also from DJ Tucha in response to what Elolota was saying. And DJ Tucha says the Grammy is just for global recognition. Let's not make it more than that. Be happy for nominations, so your name is out there. And then let me see. Wow, Stephen Batty is on fire today. My thing is, what will we identify the world? We have an umbrella genre to start the topic, and then you get it to break down the other parts. And then there's one member of the One Mic Show who is commenting as the One Mic Show. I strongly believe it's you, Adis. So, like switch your name back to Adis. We don't want you commenting as the One Mic Show, because we don't want people thinking your opinion is the umbrella opinion of the One Mic Show. And then
should we give the disclaimer now?
Huh?
Comments made by the One Mic Show are not endorsed by the One Mic Show. Back to you, studio.
Okay, all right. Uno, Sasa, give us guidance. What direction are we going?
I think what we can do is, while we wait for this guy to come in, I can just play a Muzi.
Yeah.
Let me
Because
play a Muzi.
they're short clips, right?
Yeah,
They're short clips.
So I think I'll just start off with one, and then, we can chime on that as we wait for Nons Mgenge2ru to chime in. So hold your horses, people. Incoming.
First of all, you have to understand, people should not start looking at Genge as like it has its own category at the Grammys. It's a good thing that they've tried to identify all the energy that is coming from Africa. Remember, in Africa we have sukus. There's so much vibes coming from Africa, and every now and then, apart from like Afrobeat taking over, now Amapiano came and took over. Now what they're doing is like they try to find a situation whereby they can get African music to be recognized. And one thing is like, yes, it's a good direction to divide the music that Black Mambazo, people like Angelique Joe, and the music that Burna Boys are doing. But on the other hand, it's like, bro, we still have a long way to go. It's a good step that the Grammys are recognizing all this energy that's coming from Africa, but also they have to realize Africa has its own genres too. The same way we have rap, jazz, blues, gospel, all these categories at the Grammys, Africa has the same. We have, even in Kenya by itself, we have Sukuti, we have Benga, we have Nyatiti, we have Momboko. So you see, and every country has these energies. So please, apart from us celebrating this first milestone, we still need more. We still need more things to be done by the Grammys. Another thing I wanted to add on that, Mr. Uno, is like, I know people are saying Genge. Is it Gengeton? Is it, So I think they just went with the name that they're trying to tap into the young energy. When I say young energy, guys who've been making music that has been burning up the charts, but they never get recognition, And then you never know, the next big hit might come. Maybe East Africa is the next one to pop with Bongo flavor and all these other genres. So all of these things, if you look at it from day one, it's a way to try and contain all that energy. One thing you have to understand is like, they're trying to create an African Grammys too, which would be nice. But when they create that situation, is like, also we don't need to be recognized by the Grammys like that. You get my point? We can just create our own situations here, and whereby we understand African music the same way the Latin world figure out we have so many vibes coming from our continent, so they have their own Latin Grammys, And if they are Latin Grammys, they have rock in their own way, Tejano, they have all this cumbia, all that stuff. They kind of like recognize that. That's what we need to do with Africa.
So, yeah. That's
Muzi of Jabali Africa.
That's Muzi of Jabali Africa.
Like very interesting comments. And he has a very interesting take. Because I always say, it's very important that we find our own ecosystems to reward ourselves, such that it doesn't matter, whether people from outside come to recognize us or not. And this is, and I think, this is in a backdrop of where I think people are seeing, like Afrobeat artists get very successful on the global stage. So a lot of them, like also want that kind of success on the global stage. You see a country like DR Congo, they had artists who were successful from performing in Congo and performing in a few other African countries, and they were okay. They did not care about being recognized on the Grammys. They did not care about being recognized on whatever global stage. And I think that's where this is coming from. There's talk about trying to grow Kora. There's talk about trying to grow Afrima. But then now you see there tends to be a lot of competition. Now, when we talk about diversity in Kenya, people should also think about a country like Nigeria that has successfully exported a genre, but you should think about how diverse Nigeria is. Nigeria has more than 200 million people. It has like 215 million people. So they definitely have a lot of different music genres that people don't know about. So I think we just need to find a way of figuring ourselves out. Esther Mulusa says, the way forward for Kenyan music is to round up all those 2-bit musicians with their mediocre lyrics and give them a beating. Radios and DJs should stop rewarding low quality talent. It's very embarrassing. Omosh, do you think, because I think this is something that has been repeated over and over again, is there some truth in it? Do we have a habit, especially in the Kenyan music scene, radios and DJs, of rewarding mediocre quality?
I don't know if I would say that we reward mediocre quality. So let's take it from the perspective of a DJ. A DJ normally plays what is popular, what's going to move the crowd, and what the crowd is asking for. Now, if the crowd / audience or the paying customer is telling you that this is what they want to listen to and it's mediocre, guess what? You're going to play it.
Wow.
Because
okay.
it's basically a supply and demand thing.
Okay.
Right? And this is, again, is from the perspective of the DJ.
Yeah.
Now,
so
radio,
if the crowd demands my sugar banana, you have to play my sugar
you're going to
banana.
play my sugar banana.
Okay.
Radio can be different in terms of you can set the pace of what you want to play on radio until you get to the point where basically you have say things like advertisers that are coming in, or the station or the whoever is manning the station tells you need to play different categories because I have classifications of the music, A, B, C, D category, and you play X in an hour and blah blah blah. So that's a whole other different way of presenting music. But with a DJ where it's free flow, it's basically supply and demand.
Okay. All right. And I think, as we speak right now, we do have Nonini, who's live on the line. He was not able to make it to the studio. But we still have Nonini Mgenge2ru. For those, who may be living under a rock and still don't know who Nonini is. Nonini is...
Should we introduce him?
Yes. I'm just going to quickly say, I'm going to let him introduce himself, but I'm just going to quickly say he's one of the founders, or one of the godfathers of the Genge genre of music. And I want to welcome Nonini. Nonini, can you hear us?
Yes, nawasikia mzee, mko fiti?
Tuko poa. Karibu sana Nonini. We are very glad to have you here. Now, you've been in this Genge game for more than 20 years. Now, this announcement from the Recording Academy to add Genge at a personal level, Nonini, what does this mean for you at a personal level? Let's start from there. Nonini.
This is the biggest win. This is the biggest win of the dream that we had ever since we came out into the industry 20 years ago. Si wote yani kutoka Kalif, mali mziki yetu tu ya urban ilianzia hii ya kizazi kipya. So our dream was always to have a genre that defines Kenyan music, but not the whole of Kenyan music. Of course, there was Benga, but there was that young pop music that we came up with, that we created our own space with. We needed a name for that kind of music, and for it to be in that level right now, oh my God, it's so surreal. Let us see a meaning.
Okay. Now, Nonini, just give us a brief background, on on where Genge came from, where it started, you know, maybe who founded it, because there's a lot of theories, you know, like about that. Na kuna story nyingi, hekaya za bunuasi, visa vya alfulela ulela. Sasa tunataka kusikia from the source, you know, like where did Genge come from and where did it start? For those who are not familiar.
I'm sure I didn't come from Umo. Andrea.
Oh, definitely not Umoja.
It's also story mingi, man. Unless you don't know Kenyan music history, I don't think anybody is confused. Everybody who actually knows Kenyan music and knows my music and knows that urban pop music that revolutionized the industry knows exactly where Genge came from. Genge ilianzia California. Genge ilianzia California, mtaa yetu mali tulizaliwa. Mimi, Jua Kali, Clemo, Mahatma, we were born in Calif, and then where Calif Records started, that's where Genge started. Genge actually ilianza kwa living room. Ilianza kwa living room ya kina Clemo. That's why we used to record our music. We didn't have money to build studios. We didn't have money to go to the big studios in Nairobi those times. Wajua za kina Ted, za kina Bruce Odhiambo. We built our own studios. Zilikuwa zinaitwa bedroom studios. And the whole industry started doing music in bedroom studios. So Genge started there. Now Genge was coined by Clemo. It was a discussion tuko tumeka tu kwa living room tunabonga, because we used to get mad manze. Mimi niko nachukia ngoma zetu zinaitwa local. Tunaenda radio station kama saizi venye tuko on mic show. Here's another, we're being joined by another local artist called Nonini, and another local artist called Local. Quality Changa. Me, I used to hate that name. Or either, if they're not calling it local, they were calling it just Kenyan music. We have a hot Kenyan song out. It's the Kenyan music that is out. Ikwe nameless, ikwe nani. There was no name for our urban music at that time. Hizi muziki zote watu uzipendaga na zitaga TBT. There was no name. So that used to like rub us the wrong way. So siku moja tumekaa tu kwa living room, Clemo akasema manze, hii ngoma lazima tuipatie jina. Tukamwambia but tusaitaje, because Bongo Flava was already there. Like we grew up listening to Bongo Flava, kina Gangwe Mob, you know, those guys from way back, kina Professor J. Tulikuwa nasikia Bongo Flava, tunashindwa muziki gani inaitwa Bongo Flava, ina jina, tunajua ni muziki ya TZ. Sasa tukijiuliza sisi ngoma zetu zinaitwaje, hazina jina. Hiyo kitu ikaanza kutusumbua. And then kina what's their name, the guys from South Africa, TKZ, and those guys, ule Brenda Fassie, tunaanza kusikia kuna muziki ya South inaitwa Kwaito. Man, si tunahitaji muziki yetu. Of course kuna hip hop, Kalamashaka were doing hip hop. Of course there was kina Hardstone. They came out with the first, you know, they were the first generation of this urban music. They came out even before us, but that music had no name. So tuitaje hii muziki? So tukadecide, Clemo siku moja tunathrow words kwa studio. And then all of a sudden he just said, because tulikuwa wengi kwa living room, akasema Genge. Kila mtu akamwambia what? Hiyo nini umesema? Akasema Genge. Tukamwambia why? Akasema Genge, unajua ile genge la watu wengi wenye meka hapa kwa living, genge la watu, genge la majambazi, genge la watu. Yani it's ni kama watu wengi wageni. Kiswahili I think Ali unaweza ni correct.
Yeah.
But ni watu wengi
sana ni genge la wezi.
Lakini genge hiyo term ni watu wengi.
Watu wengi kweli, yeah. Yeah.
So kama ulikamea na Clemo tutajustify aje hiyo jina, yani Genge aje? Akasema guys, si mmeanza perform, mmetoa manzi wa Nairobi, mnaona vile watu wana react hapa nje, mkienda mashosi mnajaza, si hao ni watu, music for the masses. Genge.
Okay.
Kuisha.
Safi sana. So how, when it came up, when your Genge li come up, was the idea, you know, like to have that term for Caliph? Because right now, today, as we know it in Kenya, Genge is mostly identified with that music that came from Caliph. But the original idea for that term, was it meant just to cover that California music, ama was it for overall Kenyan music? Because you've been talking about Kenyan music. So ilikuwa ni cover ngoma zote za Kenya, kama vile Bongo Flava cover yani most of hii muziki ambayo inatoka Tanzania. So what was the original idea, or what was the original goal? Nonini.
Exactly. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa idea, Ali. We came up with it so that it becomes the name of Kenyan music, the Kenyan urban pop music. Let me not say Kenyan music, because Kenya tukuna different genres. Ohangla is a genre. Our traditional and our mother tongue, they have genre. But the urban pop music, we wanted it to be called Genge. And that was our contribution to the industry, because we felt we were players. Tumeanza kutoa mziki, tumeanza kujulikana. There's a studio called Calif Records, there's a studio called Ogopa. We are contributors, we are shareholders. So tukasema wacha tuambie watu jamani aje tuiteni hizi mziki Genge. Now the reason why today the Genge is still associated to Calif is because the whole of the industry fought back. Remember your time there was a lot of competition. Like we used to Chomoa music, Ogopa Chomoa's music, hip hop guys Chomoa music. There was a lot of competition which brought a very, very vibrant industry. But due to that competition also, anything that comes out from whichever stable was being hit back. So yeah, we tried to push it, man. They push for years. Tunaambia tu Genge, wasanii wanakataa. And then unajua say your time, if I may paint the picture, we never knew each other. Like we were not friends, as in tulikuwa kina nameless used to hear guys from Calif. These young kids, man, from Eastland, they're coming up with a style. Hey, Ogopa was like the number one ruling, the ruling the airways. They're on TV, they're on radio, they're being played in clubs. Then these guys came to disturb the peace from Calif. So everybody was like, who are these guys? So kwanza hawaku receive vizuri until we were accepted. When we were accepted by guys, that's when everybody now, okay, fine. There's nothing you can do about it because washakubalika. So you'd rather just be their friends. Then sasa urafiki ukaanzia hapo. Lakini initially sisi tulikuwa naonekana kama vijana wa Calif Eastlands, ni nani? Kwanza uko na studio bedroom because everybody had the massive studios. They had the 16 24 track channels, you know, those mixers. Man, unaingia studio kuna lighting. These kids were recording from the bedroom. Are you kidding me? Everybody was hating on that. So anything we're trying to bring to the industry, it was being pushed back. At some point, Pinye decided. Pinye had the biggest show in Kenya on NTV. It was called The Beat.
The Beat.
Like if anybody knows about The Beat, man,
Yes.
hapo ndio mziki ilipushiwa mziki ya Kenya sana. At some point, Pinye took it upon himself. Let me try and push this thing. He tried to call The Beat Genge. One day people woke up and the logo of The Beat was Genge. Woy. The biggest mistake he ever did. Vita Pinye alipigwa. Woy. From Red Tick, from Wadosi, watu wamepiga masimu. How are you calling that show Genge? Our music is not Genge. Genge ni watu wa Calif. You get? So that's how now it was associated with Calif because everybody rejected the name. But we were trying to contribute it to the industry so that it becomes the bongo flavor of our country.
Okay, all right. That was a very good backstory, which I think a lot of people don't have. At that particular time when this was happening, I was still in Kenya and I was, like talking about this earlier on in the show. And I remember when these fights were happening, na kulikuwa na people were coming up with random names for genres just to try to distinguish themselves from Genge so that they don't get roped in. Hapo ndo palizi sijui Bumba music ikakam, nikaanza kusikia terms sasa zingine kama kapuka na nini. There was, like watu wa side nyingine, people from this other side of town.
Side gani? Side yenyu ya Nairobi West?
No, mimi nilikuwa zote. Mi pali nilikuwa, mi nilikuwa kote. So I could hear what kina Jua Kali, like wanasema. When I would go visit my cousins in Biafra, hapo Calif, nasikia stories zao. Nikirudi huku Nairobi West, nasikia watu wa huku South C, South B. Because najua South C na South B, there was another crew huko ya kina Nameless, kulikuwa kina Isa hiyo time, kulikuwa na
so when he code switcher
si ati ni code switcher.
Yes.
No,
It's okay.
No,
Just
I'm not a
accept
code
it.
switcher.
It's
I'm not
okay.
a code switcher.
Aina
Yani tumekubalika tu sote. Tumekubalika tu kote. Unajua kuna mtu tu ambaye akienda tu huku, akiwa huku anakubalika na akiwa huku pia anakubalika. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa story. But again, I want to remind the listeners that we have Nonini on the line. He's talking about Genge music, the background, and what led to the Genge music being chosen as one of the categories in the new category that has been created in the Grammy Awards. Now, quickly, Nonini, because I know you have a very short time, with Genge, specifically Genge, being selected as a genre for to be included in the Grammys. Why do you think the Grammys particularly picked Genge, despite the fact that there are so many other genres of music in Kenya? What is it that you feel that pushed them towards Genge? Nonini.
Before I even answer that, let me just correct you a few things, buddy. People didn't come up with other genres. All those things you're saying, all the genres they were trying to come up with was trying to fight or counter Genge. Boomba came from Kisima Awards. You remember Kisima Awards?
Yes, Kisima Awards.
Kisima Awards, because we had the biggest hits in the country, where Kina Juakali, Mimi, then we were nominated for Kisima Awards. We could not allow ourselves to be under our agenda. We told them our agenda has to be Genge. So once they put the Kisima Awards, they have to have a category of Genge. They refused. Kina Josa alikata. Wakasema kuna, we don't know what Genge is. So they put something called Boomba.
Damn.
So you found Boomba and then you find Nonini Juakali. So we're asking them, what the hell is Boomba? We don't know what Boomba is. Okay, so if you've created Boomba, fine, put the artist you've created under Boomba Uko, but then have a category for Genge. You get? So it was a retaliation. Now Kapuka is not even a genre. Kapuka was a diss. Because of the beats of the beats Zogopa ziko pu, kapu, kapu.
Kapuka this, Kapuka that.
Yeah. So Kina Bambu na Kina Abbas and a lot of hip hop artists used to hate those beats. Because walikuwa sema hizo beats na sound kama jingle. Hawa walikuwa wanapiga ma diss track. Wakatoa ile kapuka this, kapuka that. Yo watu wakatike. So that was a diss. That's even not a genre. But ukiuliza mtoto siku hizi wa generation Z atakwambia kapuka is a genre. So that was a diss. That's not even a genre. It's not even official. Nobody even invented it. So let me just put that clear, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so why I think the Grammys chose the name. Again, man, California iko na mambo mengi. Let me just put facts straight there. Isa, Maremu Isa mwenyewe. Maremu Isa has origins from Calif.
Absolutely.
Maremu Isa alizaliwa California. Mama yake ni Jehovah Witness. They are good friends with my mother before they moved to South Sea. Okay? So nataka connect it to your Calif, ndio mjue Calif iko na some other origins with talent. I don't even know. Sometimes it's surreal when you hear these stories. Ogopa, their first artist was a guy called Atsulu. Atsulu is our neighbor who lives in Calif. Atsulu used to call himself, his stage name was Ongopa. Akitoka alikuwa jitaga Ongopa. And he was the first artist of Lucas. And that's where Ogopa name came from. Unaona Calif connection.
Wow, okay, that's interesting because actually hapa kulikuwa na hata mtu anauliza huyu Atsulu ni nani. So yeah, so that's
Atsulu alikuwa na kina Hardstone, man, hao ni ma veteran tu uko mbaya. So now let me come back to your question and answer why. One, I think the consistency we've been pushing Genge, and it's been 20 years, man. It's been 20 years of churning out music, of trying to make the name remain relevant. Artists are there, kina major. Mpaka Genge yenyewe imeji-reinvent. The new kids came in and also wakachukua they gave birth to another cousin called Gengeton, but the name itself has been built, the brand has been built for 20 years consistently. People might argue like the old veterans like us, Mimi, Juakali and them, we haven't been releasing any music. But we have catalogs, man. Me in the catalog, I have like 5 albums to my name. Juakali has like 4 albums to his name. We have Kina Major. Yes, some other guys might have fallen off, but we've been consistent. And if you look, if you even search like on the internet, or ChatGPT, ask them to what genre of music they recognize about Kenya, because we build that consistency. That's the name that comes up. Okay, so it's not an accident that it happened that Grammys chose it. But then again, to the music business and the music industry, what I've learned even here in the US, nothing happens by chance. Nothing ever happens by chance. Hakuna mtu aliamka akaamua achague Afrobeat. Hakuna mtu aliamka akaamua Nigeria is the biggest music out here. People do it. People make sure they push it. What we push? I'm looking for a term. Yani watu wanaipush wenyewe. Yani kuna watu. There are people inside this industry, inside this US that are specifically their agenda is to push that music. So Afrobeat was pushed. Afrobeat haikuamka tu siku moja ikakuwa tu ni Afrobeat. Kuna watu wanapush. Kuna watu kuna hiyo agenda ya kupush. So please, pay Genge. We had people out here. We have people who are in the academy. We have people who've been fighting for African music. So the CEO of Grammys was in Kenya in December. And there was a big fight because many nations met in Kenya just to understand what categories or what genres do we have in the Grammys, because everybody does not. Again, nile story ya Kisima na Boomba. So the Grammys, the Boomba is Afrobeat. So they want everybody to be under Afrobeat. But Africa is huge. Africa is diverse. Kuna South Africa wanapiga Amapiano huko. Kuna madombolo, kuna mazuku, kuna mambo mingi Afrika. Unaelewa? But kuweka hizo vitu zote under Afrobeat ni kufanya ile story ya Pumba. Do you get me?
Okay. Now that and I think, you know, hiyo ni point nzuri sana, very important, you know, like for the fans of Afrobeat to also understand, you know, that you know, like it's not that people don't like Afrobeat, but I think there's just so much diversity in African music that that people do not want to be all lumped under that one category. So now I'm starting to understand it, you know, from that small Kenyan perspective of Boomba versus Genge, and then now in the African concept of Afrobeat now versus all these other genres. And I think it's going to be very good visibility. But now Nonini sasa, now all these other Kenyan artists ambao weko katika genres zingine, you know, like who might be seeing this and maybe might be feeling some type of way.
They are feeling some type of way.
They might be feeling some type of way.
Let us just agree they are.
You know, like how can they capitalize on this? Because now this is something that this is a trend that has left the station. How can they capitalize on this? For example, if you're not a Genge artist in Kenya, but you want a nomination, you know, like in the Grammys, what exactly do you need to do? Because we're now looking at the future. Nonini.
Yo, the window is open, guys. Let me tell you, this category ni a best African music performance, right? For Grammys. How many genres are there? There's Afropop, there's Afrobeat, there's Bongo Flava. Tukiingia Bongo Flava, kuna mbongo hapo. Bongo Flava is not the only music in Tanzania. Kuna msondongoma. Msondongoma is the traditional, wale wa mama wantingishaga maviuno nini, uelewa? Mbona hawa wazushi? Because wana understand Bongo Flava, it's a window and carrying them as a nation. Kuna Fuji Kwasa, kuna Dombolo, kuna Mapuka, kuna Ghanaian drill. Are you trying to tell me Ghana drill peke yake is the genre? Ghana has a lot of music. My director Willie Usu is Ghanaian, najua. But Ghanaian drill is the genre iko hapo kwa Grammys that carries. It's opening the window. So whatever we are dealing with is happening also in other nations. But other nations have agreed. Hata kwa ito, say after South Africa wanakuwa represented na Amapiano. So hata kuniambia kuna genres zingine huko ziko, but hao jamaa wa jam because Amapiano ndio imefungua hiyo window. So let's jump on that bus. And my friends from the Grammys, they told me, yo, they had to fight. Because let me tell you, let me just read for you like exact message that I was sent. Ndio msiseme Nonini anachocha, right? and this is for my friend. After meeting with the CEO in December. So aliambia, we started this last year. We submitted over 3,000 African songs. Proposal was worked on, but was not accepted. It was fought back by the Grammy panel. The last meeting was last year before the year ended. We again pushed the African music category again. They were pushing the African music category, trying to tell them, if you want support from other nations, you cannot be only allowing Afrobeat. You have to accept all these other genres, at least represent them so that you get more support from the African countries. So Amapiano, Genge, Bongo mostly came up from their research. And we chose names of the categories that came up. And from last year after lobbying, that's when it was accepted. So it's again, buddy, it's people who push. We have people who are pushing our music, who are have the best interest for Kenya. And the people who had best interest for Nigeria, that's why you can see Burna Boy nowadays is almost being considered to perform in the Super Bowl, because there were Nigerians who had interest to push that agenda. So yes, we had people who are doing that underground. Tuskuma sana.
Okay, haya. Asante sana. Naona hapa Eddie akona labda swali kwako before tukuache uende. We know you have a tight schedule. Eddie, umemsikiza Nonini hapo akizungumza. Sasa wewe labda toa perspective yako kutoka Bongo.
Na usimwambie aimbe.
Mimi naambia tumpa. Kwanza hongera sana kufikisha muziki huko. Na swali moja. Hiyo Genge, jina hiyo. Unajua hiyo Genge ishakuwa kubwa sasa. Sasa hiyo jina itakuwa ilindwe. Msifoilinda kuifanyaje, itakuwa kitatumika kila sehemu, Genge huko haitaita maana kwenye muziki wenu. Sasa hiyo jina, je, mtaifanya nini kuilinda Genge iwe jina protected, isitumie ovyo ovyo, kwa sababu imekea copyright, kwa sababu ishakuwa kubwa, so ndogo tena hiyo. That's a big thing, so lazima muiprotect, mieke iwe inaendelea kuwa kubwa. Sasa mmefanyaje kuilinda hiyo jina?
Haya, Nonini, na unajua unajulikana ni mtu wa kupeleka watu mahakamani wakijaribu kuleta Kiswahili.
Bado tunangoja hela. Tunangoja hela.
Hizo pesa zikiingia utushtue bana. Pia sisi uje utupatie kitu
mahakamani.
Asante, hiyo swala nzuri sana. Hiyo jina tunailinda, jina tumeilinda kabisa yani. Jina hizi tumika hivi. Tulianza kuilinda tangu tutoke kwenye industry, unaelewa? So Clemo Jua Kali, mimi jina ile tunailinda kabisa yani. Hizi tumika ovyo. Alafu further than that, mimi nilifanya ile jina ika-evolve. Nimekeep hiyo jina consistent over the years. Mpaka jina yangu ya pili Mgenge2ru. Mgenge2ru also is a trademark name. Unaelewa, na ina define bado Genge. So yani also alifiti, it's trademarked and everything. Speaking of that, August 11th and August 10th, very big rulings are going to be happening in Kenya about copyright. So keep it tuned. I'm going to come back and tell you guys about that.
Kwa hiyo pesa inaingia mfukoni August 10th 11th.
So
tukutafute.
So it looks like around
ruling inakuja. Ruling yaje.
He needs to be on the show around August. That's what it looks like.
Tutakualika show hiyo siku.
I think that's what he's trying to say.
Na uje na briefcase.
Yes. Yes.
Ongera sana.
Okay.
Ongera sana.
Okay, thank you so much Nonini. We really appreciate you, and next time tunakutaka hapa ndani ya studio. Because as the 2024 Grammy Awards approach, I don't know when the nominations begin, but I think hapo ndo siasa itaanza kushika moto. You know, now when names get nominated into the actual Grammy Awards that are going to be coming up in 2024. It's around November?
Because they normally do it around like February or something like that,
okay.
Right? Between Jan February is when they actually do the actual show.
Okay.
So people get nominated, I think, around November.
Okay.
Just before Christmas, I think.
Okay.
Always somewhere around there.
Real quick, Nonini, before we end, if there was one song, ngoma yako moja, which you felt, because you have a catalog of 5 albums, ngoma nyingi sana.
It's 5.
If there was,
Jesus.
Yeah, if you have that one song that you feel was Grammy worthy, if Genge was in the Grammys, you know, from back in the days when you started singing, ni ngoma gani hiyo hapo ungeingiza hapo Grammys?
Yeah, na nyota ndo.
Ni kali hiyo kali sana. Nikupatia as a parting shot, Ali, as we're doing this discussion on a lot of heated arguments online, I'd like to say, manze, let's support once a window is open with something Kenyan. Yani si ndio ushasikia wa Kenya usema tumefikiwa. Tumefikiwa. Sasa tumefikiwa. Tukingojea sana, finally tumefikiwa. Let's not let this name go down the drain the way it went during the years, the way people fought about it. Let's support it the same way we keep saying we support Kenyan music. Ali tulikuwa na wewe tukienda show Sauti Soul. I told you I pulled up there not because they're my friend, because they're fully Kenyan, and I'm there to support them because we know how Nigerians move out here. We know how Tanzanians move out here. Unaelewa? We gotta move the same way. So when you get things like this, ni fit kusupportiana, tusikuwe tunapigana, unaelewa? That's number one. Secondly, the message I have from the Grammys, they just told me, bro, the genre is there, your country is on the map. All you guys need to do is churn out good music between now and the Grammys, which is happening in February, the nomination. That's the message they told me. People just need to show more good music between now and the Grammys. It's a challenge to artists. That's what I told them on my social media. I announced it. We need to release good music. And me, kama Godfather, leading from the front, in 2 weeks, I'm gonna drop something. Forget you unaniuliza jingo magani, I'm wishing you kwa Grammys. Bro, I got a Grammy song dropping in 2 weeks.
Okay. Unaweza tupatia hint?
I think we'll be in the video, bro.
Unataka trailer?
The video is being edited, everything is ready. In 2 weeks we're dropping.
Hakuna taka trailer.
But hauku tu invite tupige video juu unajua hizo ngepa si waga tunajua kuzivaa.
So it's artists need to build, people need to drop music. That's
correct.
It. Tuache tu mambo mingi, watu drop muziki. And then also, I've had comments over there, people saying some mediocre music. Kenya iko na trend, manze. There's a new crop of presenters and DJs who came in who really don't care about quality. So that's why unapata wa Kenya wanazusha wanasema kuna muziki zingine mediocre zinachezwa. Ni ukweli, they're very right. Kuna muziki zingine manze, wewe niambie jo, ma socialite squeeze wanaimba. How is a socialite singing? What do you even know about singing? Mtu ana sauti mbaya, leo muziki because now we can buy views on YouTube. all this YouTube stuff, tunaweza ingia YouTube to buy 1 million views. Unajua, so we need to protect that. Watu walichukiaga Pinye because Pinye used to be quality control. Pinye alikuwa anaangaliaga anasema, my friend, you have to have talent by the time he plays you. Saizi everything goes, and that's why our fans are feeling there's a lot of mediocre music, because that mediocre music is being pushed, and there's a lot of good music in Kenya that is not being pushed. Kwanza saizi mkimaliza hapo mcheze ngoma ya Ndovuku. Ndovuku has a very, very new song called Kadija. The video is brilliant. Ingeni YouTube. That's a Grammy song right there. Ndovuku.
Okay, all right.
Kadija. Yep.
Okay, Nonini, now you're in the process of producing.
Umemsikia vile amepush hiyo kitu?
I know.
Hebu mcharge.
No, hapo tunamcharge. Hapo kando. Unajua siku hizi Kasha piko na ile kama unadai mtu.
Ni ndugu yetu.
Kasha poko na request.
Kasha piko na request na kutumia hiyo hapo. Asante sana Nonini. Okay,
thanks and congrats, bro.
Thanks. Okay, all right.
Asanteni sana manze. One mic show, I'm out.
All right, thank you Nonini. Okay. Na hapa Sleodora anasema KRA is watching. You know, they are following closely.
Who are they watching? We don't live there.
But
they can watch what they want.
But why? You know, like, and this is why it's good sometimes to get this information from the source. You know, we've got a different perspective. You know, Elolota, you know, like came in earlier on. Someone who's also been in the music industry has a different perspective. We had, you know, like a comment from Jabali, Muzi of Jabali Africa, different perspective. And of course, Nonini, you know, like he's also, you know, like one of the godfathers of Genge, and also definitely has a different perspective on how he sees this. And I think, you know, it's important for people to digest, to take all this information in and digest it in a positive way. The one thing that I picked from what he said is let's try our best, you know, like kama tumefikiwa, you know, kama tulikuwa tunangoja kufikiwa, moja wetu amefikiwa, let's be happy for him. Let's try to see how moja wetu amefikiwa.
It encompasses all of us.
Exactly, yeah.
It encompasses all of us.
So it's aongelee kwamba personal individual.
Yeah.
Everybody can go in and put your song there.
Correct.
That's important. Don't be biased. Just go there and put your thing there and support each other. So we can win. Ikishinda Kenya,
this
Tanzania,
is a win for all of us. It's a win for all of us.
Don't look at the negative side.
And it's huge, man. This is huge. You know something, just before you jump in, something about all of this. Remember, he's been in the industry since the birth of Genge.
Yes.
So this is his baby that's now graduating. Think of it that way.
Yeah.
Mtoi wake,
high school graduation,
is graduating. Imagine. And he's watching. He's sitting on the sidelines watching graduation. Mtoi ndio huyo walking across the stage and receive diploma.
Na ameitwa Ivy League school, Grammy Awards.
And this is what you had been praying as a parent. You pray for your toy to do better than you, and you pray for your toy to be able to have opportunities. Sasa mlango imefunguliwa. All we have to do all we have to do now as supporters or as Africans is push our artists. We have to be very deliberate, just like Nigerians do. And you know, I always say even Wabongo fanya hivyo. Very deliberate about the support that you give to the artist. Very deliberate about supporting. And ndio kuna hiyo hiyo kitu mbaya about the mediocre music. But the mediocre music is not the standard. It's just, unfortunately, it's the one that always stands out when it's pushed. We can tell when there's mediocre music. We know good artists. We know people. There are people who are consistent. Nele mziki wanatoa. It doesn't matter if you go to Bongo. You know, in fact, you can put on your hand one finger maybe how many bad songs someone like Mbosso has.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there are some artists, you just look at their body of work. Na unajua ujama akitoa mziki yake itagonga, it will be good.
Yes, they're putting money, they're putting effort.
Yes.
And the biggest thing, that I see in Bongo that we sometimes lack in Kenya is the support that comes from the community.
No, we have to support.
Yes.
We have to support our music.
And you know, when I say this, like I see,
100%.
like shows, like in Iringa, in Arusha, yani shows iko vijijini, but huko vijijini, yani watu wanakuja wengi, you know, like within that own context, watu wanakuja wengi, and then we also need to start treating our artists like stars. Ubaya yetu moja Kenya is, I think everybody in their mind believes they're a star. So unaweza kuona star amepita hapa, someone who's a global star, na watu wakampita tu kama ushuzi. You know, like in Bongo, when this artist wanafika airport, unakuta reporters wamefika hapo.
Even
you know, like
even if it's small artists,
yes,
an interview, they go the interview and support him.
I know. Watch hata artist sometimes, hata ni mke wa artist. When Annalisa was married to anaitwaje yule Ben Paul, when Annalisa from Kenya was married to Ben Paul, mpaka wanaingia na yeye ni mke wa artist, wanakuja kumu-interview.
Yeah,
you know, like at the airport.
That. Yeah, he was they support him and they would follow him everywhere katika his page zake.
Yes. You know, so I think that's just something that needs to be taught. Sometimes I used to wonder, you know, like kwani hawa Tanzania yani ni vipi bana, yani msanii anakuja anaenda ma reporters wengi airport. But I came to understand later on that's part of the process of building the brand. And then when you have, you know, like a younger artist coming in, you also push him. And then, you know, like the media starts knowing him, people start knowing him. So akifanya kazi yoyote, even before they go make their second or third song, there's already a brand in them that
Correct.
people can recognize. And I think, you know, like that's something that that we need to learn as now we start proceeding to this part where we are gonna be getting nominations, hopefully, in the Grammy Awards. Hapa Slay, you know, anaji... Slay anasema, I thought Kizomba was Rwandese. You know, here's the funny thing. This is the second person today. I think uno tuko, sijui kama mlikuwa mnafuatilia ile group tuko Bora Bora, there was someone else also in that group who said
Kizomba.
She thought Kizomba was Rwandese.
What?
And I think this confusion is coming from that Rwandese artist who mwenye alisumbua wasichana wa Kenya sana. What's it called? Medi. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that some of the music he has that Kizomba-ish, Zuki-ish vibe.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's where, you know, like a lot of people. But Kizomba.
Wow.
Kizomba, that's by the way, that's another very strong genre.
And
you know,
they support.
they support like a problem.
Wow.
Kizomba artists, their concerts. Whoa.
Like
They
now,
support.
to support your point about supporting. It's here's the interesting thing. Wakenya are very good at proudly displaying their Kenya.
Correct.
One, bracelet.
Bracelet.
Hebu gota kwanza.
Bracelet.
Yeah, haya. Two, unaona vile Omosha amevaa leo hiyo jazi yake.
Yeah.
Moto ka
imeweza.
like a nonsense.
Yeah.
Right? Very nice. But when it comes to music,
that's where they draw the
that's
line.
where we draw the line. And I think Ali has said it before, and I support him 100%. I'm not. We pick the one thing, the one song that is bad, and now we use that to say muziki
as a measuring stick.
as a measuring
And you
stick.
share it to 100 WhatsApp groups.
Like a nonsense.
You share it, and then you start using that as a yardstick of Kenyan music. And you start saying Kenyan
It
music
cannot be
is
the
bad.
SI standard.
And you see,
it cannot be the
and
SI unit.
Nonini mentioned that, you know, like some people who come in, it's like they just want slay queens. Like now, surely. Now, not to say that they probably, it's just like, you know, people, like we've seen it over here, you know, people branding on a like, what's her name? Paris Hilton at one point, I think.
Yeah. She was the mother of slay queens.
Right?
Yeah,
So that is the yardstick. You know,
Yeah.
like if you're an actress or you're an actor, you're a pure actor, alafu you're being put again, you're being told, Ebu, do a scene or a line with Paris Hilton. Now, can you imagine someone like Viola Davis?
I know.
You know,
Yeah.
like this pure actor. So there's that we choose the one bad song and we blanket. That is one. Two, I go to very many houses. I go to, you know, I'm invited here and there, whatever, and I'm like, yo, one mic, hey, cheza mziki. Me, the first thing I do, I jump and I start playing Kenyan music. Funny enough, many of the places that I go, Kenyans, if they're not, let's say, my people who like Mugithi, Bongo, I don't have a problem with Bongo. But hii kitu inaitwa Afrobeat. Hiyo sasa ndio ina dominate. Okay?
Uno. You
And
went
what I
there.
do,
You went there.
I will go there. So me like when I'm told mziki first naingia Calligraph Jones, Major, Heart the Band, and if they push, and when I'll even put Samido and Nini, the new song with Samido and the
Prince Inda.
Prince Inda.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll play Okello Max. Right? And they'll be like, Kenyan music is garbage. And I'm like, yes, of course you might be garbage because you don't play it. Most of the
Neither
things
do
that
you
play,
listen to it,
exactly,
nor do research to find it.
Exactly.
And Kenyan music comes out, a new Kenyan song comes out every Friday. Every Friday they release.
And I'm like, so Omosh ametubariki, see what we'll have this conversation of here. Ametubless na muziki na hata sometimes he does some mixes. Unaeka muziki unasema
Yeah.
muziki Kenyan tuko nayo. Even over here we know we have it.
And then those same people, when they hear that good Kenyan music, they don't overshare it. Like
They don't.
overshare the bad music.
They don't.
They don't overshare it. So that's a major difference between us. It's not like there are no people making bad music in Nigeria. They're there. But that
There
music...
are people making bad music in Tanzania.
Yes.
In the US.
Yes. Mhm.
In Nigeria.
Yes.
And by the way, it's not just Nigeria. Like
Yeah.
people think, when people hear Afrobeat, they just play Niger music. There's music from Ghana.
Yeah.
There's music from Cameroon.
Yeah.
There's music from
But all those countries, they don't share their bad
don't.
music. Like in Tanzania,
But Kenyans are the ones who are the
there's
front
this,
line.
there's this artist called Hamorapa. He has some very funny songs. But
Yes.
he has some very funny songs. But here's a funny thing. You'll not see those things being overshared. Yes, there's a couple of people who will share. But then whenever there's like a Tanzanian song or like even those trailers that Kina Zuchu release, it's everywhere. Kila pali, everywhere you go, you'll see it. And then you see them sharing for each other. You see them sharing for each other. Zuchu anaweka ya huyu mwingine anaweka ya Zuchu, Mbosso anaweka ya huyu. So you see that happens a lot. And I think that's something that we need to learn. Here's the other thing that I sometimes worry about, and not to over criticize Kenyans, but here's what's going to happen.
Let's criticize
whenever there's that one artist who now is going to go and get nominated for the Grammys or win the Grammys, then you'll see all these people who don't do Kenyans, you'll see them all coming to rush in when they see success. During the struggle,
I don't hang out with Kenyans.
I don't hang out with Kenyans, but the moment
Saitan.
But the moment when it comes that a Kenyan now is winning a Grammy, ngoja utaona, all these people who are pretending they don't do Kenyan, they'll all now start pretending. They'll all come rushing in. Oh, me, I've been listening to Genge from 1999. Yet 1999 Genge ilikuwa hata bado ijaanza. But this is just one of those things that we need to learn.
And I think before Fundi comes in, and I think Ali has said this before, time and time again. Ukizoesha mtoto fufu akiwa mchanga.
Yes.
That is the only food
kabisa
atajua.
Atamini fufundo, the most delicious food in the world.
And that's it.
It doesn't matter kama umlete biriani, samaki wa kupaka.
It doesn't matter.
Atamini tu ni hiyo fufundo, chakula bora zaidi kuliko zote.
When your program director is not even Kenyan, comes in, and these are talking about back in the day, right after when Genge, and I'm using Genge now this time to mean music from Kenya. Genge, I'm using the umbrella term, was shikaing. You bring in a producer or a program director who's not even Kenyan but Nigerian. They start pushing. They start lobbying, and that is why at one point in time, all you would hear was Niger. Even people now start speaking like whatever. To a point where even when people are removing, trying to chomoa music, they're removing it to make it sound Nigerian.
Yeah.
Be it like how, be it Christian, be it even rap, whatever it was.
Yeah.
There was just Niger beat, and they succeeded in doing that. But it gets to a point. It needs to get to a point where we need to reclaim. Where I'm even in support of 85% content that is playing being Genge.
Yes, I have no problem with that. Yeah.
And by Genge, I mean Kenyan music. For those of you who might be Fundi.
Yeah. Me, myself, the first time when I hear Genge music, also these people, they go kill Bongo Flava. The first time I hear the future between Human Nature
And Nonini, yeah.
that thing I was like, oh, this one, they go
That
kill
was
it.
fire.
That thing was like, watu watachukua Bongo Flava itaenda mbali sana. Lakini later on, ile wakati nakuja ile, ikaja Ogopa DJ. Ikapigwa sana zile nyimbo zake. Hii pia kali. Lakini sasa ikaenda, ikapotea. Kasema, what's going on? Sikusikia tena muziki ya Kenya, sikusikia sana mpaka kuja South Soul. Tumeona ile gap ilitokea pale.
Yeah.
There was a lot of kupigana.
Yeah, kulikuwa na wasimu. But I want to answer a quick question, just based piggybacking on what Eddie has said. I want to answer Esther Mulusa. And Esther Mulusa says the lyrical standards in Tanzania are superior and meaningful. That's not the case with Kenya. So Esther Mulusa, ngoja, you know, like, yes, you know, Tanzania has very good music. But Esther, this is a Tanzanian here we have in studio who's speaking very highly of the same music that you're criticizing. You know, and here's an interesting thing. During that time, I'm one of those people who started listening to Bongo Flava before it became popular in Kenya. That's why
in 1999 before it came out.
That's why, you know, like ukiniuliza history yote ya Bongo Flava, you know, like the average Kenyan will not know who Mike Tim Nyalu is. They will not know who Wateule is. You know, they don't know. But that's when I started listening to Bongo Flava. I'll tell you one thing. The times I used to go to Tanzania, I'll tell you one thing. Kenyan music was very big there. Because at that time, ndo Ogopa ilikuwa inatoka, you know, like Genge music pia ilikuwa inatoka. It was very big, you know,
and the artists were scared that if I go to Kenya, I'm going to compete with these people.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure gun.
Dully Sykes himself, Dully Sykes, for those who don't know, is also an old school Bongo Flava artist. He personally said that he was looking up to Kenyan music, you know, like at the time he was getting started. Alikuwa anawasikiza kina Isa, alikuwa anawasikiza kina Nameless, alikuwa anawasikiza hao wasanii ambao walikuwa kwapo hiyo time.
Yes.
So I think Kenyans need to be, I know it's a popular sport to self-criticize, but here we have, you know, you see Ali Badawi, si mjukuu wa Masai hapa amesema, here we have a Tanzanian who's speaking on the background of Kenyan music in Tanzania. This same music that you're criticizing was very big in this other country. Fundi.
Yeah, that time that music came up, yani ilikuwa safi. Ilikuwa na compete na kwa sababu, you know, that time people are talking real things that happen. Wakati ule.
Yeah.
Maisha magumu, hivi ukiona ile music gang nifanya hivi fanya hivi. Sasa hivi muziki unaondoka ile, sasa hivi imekuja hii generation mpya. They just want music ya dakika 2
bubblegum music.
Yeah. Sasa ile imeharibu. Hata sasa hivi somo na mpaka unaanza kukopi za mapiano manini.
Yeah, sasa in Tanzania sasa
Umeona? Ile itaharibu. Ndio maana tunapigana sasa kurudisha original ile music. Mpaka serikali
imeingilia kati
na kuchukua wale top DJs. Wakamwambia sisi tunataka flavor ya Tanzania.
Yeah, hakuna mambo ya nyege.
Akawaambia ndeni akatafute beat ambayo ita represent Tanzania.
Yeah.
Walichukua wale top producer wote wakawekwa pale kwa serikali imechukua hiyo kitu very serious,
because unaona sasa pia na Diamond ameitwa na Basata mara kadhaa because of music that he's created. Kulikuwa na ile ngoma sijui ilikuwa ile wachana nayo nyege, kulikuwa na ingine ile ayo waiona hiyo ile alikuwa anasema
hiyo.
Yes, sasa hiyo ngoma there was a part kulikuwa na lyrics anasema godoro limeeloweka maji. You know, and that you know, like to the average Kenyan it may sound like you know, just an average, but godoro kuloweka maji,
I wet mattress.
Yeah, it could mean so many things. And I think that's part of the reason. Yeah. That's part of the reason why Basata walianza kumuita.
Even that video they shoot kwenye church.
Oh yeah, hiyo video alishoot kwenye church. I think waliambiwa itoe kwa sababu hiyo video niliona ilipotea.
Ilikataa kabisa.
They pulled it
out.
Yes.
Don't play, usiweke dini kwenye hizi video.
Yeah, and to me that was terrible because hao kina Diamond wanaenda na shoot kwa kanisa, yet yeye ni Muislamu na hawezi anajua hata hatoruhusiwa kuingia kushoot msikitini. So that was very disrespectful. That was very disrespectful.
Esther Mulusa has corrected herself. She's saying I'm talking about the current music scene where poor music is pushed and good talent is given a blackout.
Okay. Thank you for redeeming
Okay.
that.
Okay.
You may redeem because there is, and I think Slay over here mentioned. She actually said that can we ati edit afadhali usiogope Mike Karibia. Usiogope. Anyway, I think she was talking about Slay was saying, can we stop giving socialites airtime?
Kabisa.
This thing of letting mediocre shine.
Yeah, kabisa. You know, like there's a lot of bad music that has gone.
There is bad
viral.
music. I don't refuse that,
Yeah.
and I support that.
Yeah.
However, there is also good music.
Yeah.
And it sometimes it's just on the onus. And like I think Nonini mentioned it. I think when you have some people who just ni for likes and views, and they become presenters, and they're slaying, that's exactly what you're going to get.
That's what you're going to get.
If you want to put, let's say for example, okay, socialites are known, TikTok queens and slay queens,
tunawajua wote,
tunawajua, and those are the people. If you put those people, those are the ones who are going to dictate where music is going to go, or the content that is going to be played. Just like, you know, we look at a representative from the 14th district in Georgia, and then there's another one from Colorado. Remember, these people were voted in.
Yeah, they were voted in.
It's not like they rigged, they were voted in, which means that the people who are also putting them in there, they're in the same WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Right? So we cannot have these people dictate, and right now these people are the ones who are dictating probably how
some of them are being appointed to creative councils, you know, like I mean, I don't want to mention names, but there's a socialite who a TikTok dancer who was appointed to the creative council that was recently disbanded.
A TikToker?
That's problematic.
You see, let's say Tanzania, you see the huyu minister mchezo sasa hivi Mwana FA.
Mwana FA.
He was a musician. Ampelekwa kule kwenye ile sehemu.
Yeah, ni mbunge na ni minister sasa.
Amekuwa minister kwenye mambo ya music na sports.
Okay.
Amekuwa pale. So that means there's things wanajua kitu gani wanafanya wale watu wamekuwa pale. So you got to put somebody who knows music.
Kabisa.
So mweka mtu kwanza lika watu wako wanapigana kabisa, BASATA wanalalamika waimbaji wenyewe wamekwenda huyu mtu afai. One time FedEx walifanya kitu gani? It was big war.
Yeah.
Wamegomba wamefanya mbele, mtu gani unafanya hivi vitu wewe sio mtu wa hivi. It was a big thing.
Na Dudubaya pia alikuwa na pigana na wao sana.
Ndio maana umeona Wasafi kwa nini Diamond asipiga muziki wake peke yake, lakini anapiga nyimbo za watu wote mpya ambayo anaweka. Ndio maana unaona Wasafi inakuwa kubwa kwa sababu wana support muziki wa mtu yoyote.
Hiyo support ndio tunataka kujifunza sasa.
Now the comments here.
Let me throw in YouTube real quick.
Please.
So big shout out to Nia Generation. Thank you for being here. Maria Mashaka, Elolotsa, and Nia Generation says, believe it or not, when Nonini was doing his interview, Nia was like, she's never heard of Genge until now. And I was like,
And we're happy when people say that because that means the One Mic Show is doing what it's supposed to do. Now she knows Genge, and now she's going to go find Genge music. Because remember, people who are listening to us are not only people who are raised in Kenya, but it's also Kenyans who were raised here, Kenyans who are born here, that maybe they were not there when these genres were
born in
growing.
Kenya, came here when they were young.
Or when they came when they were very young.
So they have that. They have a little bit of a disconnect, and we are the ones who bridge that gap and try to connect the dots for them. And there is also a comment here from Nia, which was saying stronger marketing can help put music genres on the map in conjunction with viral infectious dances. And this is basically talking about Nigeria and SA who've done extremely well in marketing their music in conjunction with
Tanzanians too,
with the dance moves.
I went, I just create TikTok just for three months.
Umekuwa ukienjoy pale TikTok.
Nimeona music, most of Kenyan, they use old music ya Tanzania. All artists.
Zile backdrop music.
Sasa hata siku moja Mkenya anatumia artist wa zamani. Hata siku moja gang music ikaikwa kwenye your TikTok.
I mean, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah. But you see, I think the difference is that the music industry has developed in Tanzania. I mean, it hasn't fully matured to where it can get, but it has developed in Tanzania. In Kenya, we still have separate people doing things separately. We don't have an industry per se, like the way maybe South Africa has. You know, like to me, I like the South African industry.
It's like, you know, serikali ilifungua studio moja Tanzania just for people to go and record it.
Wow.
Oh yeah, like the one, like the coast one.
Like the one, like the one that was opened in Mombasa,
Yeah, so kama sasa hivi tunajua Tanzania kuna Wasafi, kuna kama studio 4, top one. So we have that one. So ukajua kwamba kwa muziki unatoka hapa. Nafanya vizuri.
Na unajua the interesting thing is that especially when it comes to kama music videos hivi, Diamond used to come to Kenya to get professional videos done. Ile video ya the original You're My Number One before afanye ile collabo na Davido. That video was shot in South Africa, and guess who shot the video? It was Ogopa.
You see even the one he did with the Mario. No, the one with the Mario, my African Queen.
Oh yeah, African Queen. Yes.
That one is in Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah, the African.
Even the one he did with Rick Ross.
It's African something.
Oh, the one he did with Rick Ross ni Kenya pia.
Serikali ilikataa kabisa Magufuli. I didn't want those crazy. Akabidi aibishu.
Rose. Kenya tukamwambia okay. Karibu njoo.
See.
Okay. All right, that's interesting. I did not know that. Omosh.
Wow. You know, we as supporters of the industry, as Kenyans and Africans, we have an obligation. Now that this door has been opened, we need to push, and it doesn't matter where the music is coming from in Africa. We need to push.
Absolutely.
Because it's the only way we'll be able to even show these jokers out there that we need either more categories to be opened for us, because they could open up like four major, you know, categories where you say, okay, this one we're gonna do to say like dance. We might do this one to traditional. We may do this to, I don't know, like reggae or something, and this to alternative. But they're all under Africa. Because we are 55 countries.
Yes.
So just imagine, you want to tell me 55 countries that are chomoing music. You're only giving us one category.
I know, and you know, like within each of these countries, yani ukiingia YouTube
it's wide. It's so freaking wide.
There's a wide range of music from different countries. When you look at this South African chick who sings in Swahili, mbona jina yake Shoma Jozi also sings other genres of music from South Africa.
Yes.
And she has very interesting songs, and then she'll come back and sing about John Cena.
Yes.
You know, in fact, that John Cena video has, you know, like it has so many views.
It has a lot of views.
Yet she was just standing in one place with a microphone and with a backdrop, nothing fancy.
Yeah.
And you know about that lady? Even the government give him like a tourist. He can, the government give him something like to be
the Tanzanian government.
Yeah, ambassador to tourists.
Wow.
He came there and made one video with Mario. It was good.
Yeah, it was a very nice video. Yeah.
And then you see, that's how music inakuwa kubwa.
Yeah, and then you know what, Shoma Jozi ni mjanja, you know, like because he knows, you know, like singing in Swahili.
She knows,
in that South African accent, gives something that's very unique.
Yeah.
By the way,
she's. But she was raised in Tanzania.
She was raised in Tanzania.
Yes.
She was raised in Tanzania, but lafdhi yake ukisikia bado iko na ile South Africa. You'll know, but anaongea Kiswahili vizuri.
Yeah, na ile wimbo na Sauti Sol pia.
Yeah, na ile nyimbo na Sauti Sol ile disco matanga.
You know, she has a ton of music with East African artists.
Yes.
Than South African.
And she does not discriminate when it comes to Upper Kwa or East
not
Africa.
at all. Not at all. Me, in fact, if there's one artist that I would love to interview, it's Shoma Jozi.
Yeah.
You know, like I just like to know her thinking process.
Very interesting.
You know, into how she gets, and now she speaks, I think, a very, you know, like a very small language in South Africa. I think it's called Songa or something like that. And she also has music in that language, and it's also very interesting. So I think with Africa right now, what's happening is that Africa is the future. Whatever way you want to slice, dice it, Africa is the future, and everybody knows it. It's not only in music, in so many other industries. Why do I say this? Africa is the only continent that's young, For example, in Africa, the average age, I think, is around 18, 19. Huku America, watu wanazeeka, the average age, I think, is close to 40. You know, it's like 38, 39. So this is the only continent that's growing. It's the only continent that has a market for so many different things. That's why you're seeing, you know, like artists, you know, like now rushing to go do concerts in Africa. You're seeing Boys to Men going to Kenya.
16 minutes,
Yes.
they're gone.
Yeah, you know,
And
like,
they'll make more money there than they'll make
they'll
here.
make more money there
Look
than
at-
they make here.
I saw that guy who was the Jamaica artist. Alikuwa Kenya huko.
Jamaicans huko
Nani?
Kenya ni kwa
Nani?
Jamaica wako wengi
Just like
sana.
week ago. Anthony
Oh,
B.
Sizzler.
Anthony B.
No, it wasn't Anthony B.
no,
I know
no,
the
no.
artist. It was a concert that was sponsored by
Yes.
Citizen. Ilikuwa ni
Yes,
Spice.
yes.
Was it
Richie
Richie
Spice.
Spice? Yeah,
Richie Spice.
Richie Spice. Yeah.
See,
Yeah, he was in Kenya.
Izoela was inaingia.
I think
It's crazy money.
me. I think
Wow.
I'll support. I'm feeling some kind of way, and with what Elolotsa said, how we are Grammy. Okay, Zinashuka, Africa is rising, but it's like with it's fertile ground. You're right.
Yes.
It's fertile ground to and I think you know, now that tumefikiwa
Yes.
sasa tuna hiyo kiburi, you know, we are like, okay, with pride we are here, and we want to be recognized, we want our slice of the pie, we want our piece, and I'm gonna play two other clips, and I think this just to provide context to what Elolota said, because again, even Muzi himself is sort of not he's like yeah, because like if you had earlier, there's a lot of music, but I think he also said that at some point I think it is important for Africa to probably come up with its own what you can call Grammys, for lack of a better word, but its own Grammys or award
Yes.
that is going to recognize the talent, and you can have as many genres if you want,
Like the way the Indians have their own awards.
their own awards.
Yeah.
So let me just play the remaining voice notes. They're not that career, but Muzi is very passionate about music, and the content, and also wanting to grow music in Kenya, to make it, and also, you know, again, for people to be able to eat. I was because we didn't have time, but you know, most people don't know that, you know, Nonini deregistered from MCSK.
MCSK, yeah.
You know, it's
Alijitoa.
Alijitoa. Akasema nyi mukwende.
But also part of it is that you cannot belong to two.
Yeah, but you see,
There's
but
something weird.
but it's-
but they were already
like I've been-
stifling him.
Yeah, but
So,
I've been
yeah.
here for this long.
Yeah, it makes no
we are
sense.
not getting the royalties that we need.
No.
You're playing all this music. People are just, you know, and they have become brazen.
And
where,
it took a while for him to get out. Those
Yes.
guys were not trying to let him out.
and also,
And he's not the only one.
And here's the thing: if you're MCSK, you cannot be allowing other people to make money or to whatever without recognizing the talent, without recognizing the content. If I have a song, and you just come up and just play it, and you advertise and you sell TVs, but you haven't even decided, you haven't even approached the artist or the person the creative who made that song or made that beat. That is just pure disrespect. And MCSK was doing what? Alafu nasikia mtu kama Calligraph with all that money that he's making. Almost of these artists, 2,500 shillings.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I mean,
So let me just play some of these Muzi things to skiza what he has to say.
Not when I say not okay, I'll say, let me maybe rephrase it. I am not okay.
So just to provide context, when he said he had said he was not okay with Genge being the driver or the umbrella. So I asked him, why exactly are you not okay? So this was his answer to that.
With it, not when I say not okay, I'll say, let me maybe rephrase it nicely. I am I'm kind of like, I think it's a high time they give the categories from Africa the same energy they're giving all these other categories. Like gospel. Gospel got 4 categories. I think they got traditional gospel. They got all these 4 categories within gospel. There's traditional jazz. There's so many categories that are broken down into many categories. So the thing of lumping up Genge, Amapiano, Afrobeat, Mapuka, or Kwasa Kwasa and Dombolo in one category, those are different genres of music. So we just need also that kind of attention. But don't get me wrong, I celebrate that the first step has come. They've made the first step, you know. So within the Kenyan fraternity, it's good we see Genge in there, but we cannot just assume that Genge have their own category. No. Genge is going to be competing with all these other energies coming from other regions of Africa. So one thing you have to realize, Uno, is like the Grammys are not set up for us. Even reggae struggled the same way, and then reggae ended up getting their own category. But also remember, in reggae, there's categories of reggae. There's roots, rock reggae, right? And there's dancehall reggae. You get my point? So when you're breaking down reggae, you cannot just say reggae, all of it is reggae, you know? So that's why you see the Caribbean, they're pushing to have their own Grammys like the Latin Grammys, all right? So Africa is heading towards the same way. And I think this energy that is coming from Africa has really, I don't know if I should use the word scare, but also it's like they realize they cannot ignore that energy, all right? With the success of Burna Boy burning up the charts, you know, and being one of the top 3 or 4 artists globally, they realize like there's so much coming from Africa right now, and they have to tap into that. Artists from the West are trying to so hard to get on collaborations with African artists. So it's all a win-win for us. But on the other hand, it's like we just need to understand that it's also so little too late. Get my point?
All right.
And that, I think, sums up what Elolota was saying in terms of it's a little too late. In one aspect, from one lens, I think we can look, and it's okay to look at it from that lens. We have been open for the door.
Yeah.
Here's the platform. We now can. This is our platform.
Yeah.
Let us showcase what we have. Let it be known that you have ignored us for long, but this is where we are. This is where we stand. This is the talent that we have, and you're going to put some respect on our talent.
You know, the African Union was talking about, you know, like a free trade area. You know, like I think it's still in the works. You know, like there's certain countries, there's a number of countries that have signed up. I don't have like the full technical details about it, but I think this creative economy is also one thing that we need to take a look at now, like just growing it within. Forget about recognition in the Grammys and in other places, growing it within. Meaning, if I'm Sauti Sol, I can, without any issues, you know, like organize a show in Guinea-Bissau, talk to a promoter there and fly the next week without any crazy paperwork, without, you know, the way, you know, like in the US, you know, an artist will go to Illinois, they will go to LA, they will go to different places. I think once we open up our markets like that, because we do have certain few artists.
Our borders?
Forget about borders. I'm talking about trading, you know.
Understood.
Borders, by the
Understood.
way, borders, those ones should have been opened a long time ago. I don't know why, you know, there's still fights about that. I don't believe in closing borders. You know, our borders should be open. But I'm talking about, you know, like opening it up to trade. And trade is also taking selling your creative talents in another country. Because that's one way in which also Africans are going to start. One reason why a lot of Africans have gotten to know about each other is through music. You know, music is one popular way that people know about Nigeria. Even people through music, what they've seen, you know, like music videos from South Africa, and they're like, I want to go there. You know, like a lot of people have seen Kenyan music videos and they've come to Kenya based on that.
But the problem we have is from the beginning, all these musicians, the producer, musician, DJ, all this, they don't have the copyright of their song. Somebody can use somebody, and the musician is not getting anything.
That's a problem that needs to be
very big problem. We cannot do nothing until we have all this signing, and who knows gonna get the royalty, what is gonna get it. From my side of my country, we see that people are trying to get there, but it's very difficult.
Yes,
they are fighting.
Yeah, because kuna watu wengine, it's a select few who are making that money.
Yes.
Na hawataki kufungua hiyo mlango.
Yeah, and that's bad. Somebody produced the music, he don't get nothing. And the music, look at the Rayvan music with that Tetema, with that.
Oh, yes. Mama Tetema.
Yes. See that song?
By
that song, the DJ can get his own cut. The producer is this boy. What's her name?
Is it Ioliza?
No.
So Ioliza tu ni jina tu pale
mwanzo. Si ule jamaa wa Wasafi ule?
No, that small boy. His name is I forget his name. He's very good. He's the one who produced all this Amapiano. He's the one who produced all this music. Kanyaga is the one. He's a small kid. Even he produced some of big artists from Nigeria. I forget his name.
Lakini copyrights ndo.
That's why he went to fight. There was an issue. I don't know if it's true or not, because according to the news I see on the TV, they say Salim put his name on there and he was getting the royalty.
Oh, wow.
They fight it.
Yeah.
And they get the money. You see, that's how we go. So now Majan is trying to do that. So
yeah.
the producer can get the share. Now they introduce that copyright. So everybody, when you sign the song, you gotta do
yeah, nimemwona sana P-Funk Majani akizungumzia sana hiyo issue.
Yeah. If you guys remember when we started the show, I was talking about, I think I was talking about how, if you guys remember behind the music and how many artists under the labels at one point, because the labels are the ones that used to make money. They come, they give you a check of 10 million, but out of that, each and everything that you spend or whatever, wanakata.
Sindio? Yeah.
So wanakata, if it's production, if it's paying the producer, if it's whatever it is, wanakatwa. So
the name is S2K.
Oh, S2K.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ule, yeah.
So when unakatwa, so at the end of it, because you've been given this lump sum of 10 million, chances are probably like there's a producer, there's a songwriter, there's a engineer, whatever it is.
Yeah, there are so many people who made it possible.
Who made it possible,
yeah.
Which is okay. So, but the eagerness with which to want to show that tumefikiwa or tumefika is what I believe many African artists might fall into the same trap. Because remember, tumefikiwa sahi,
yeah.
Hatuna hiyo knowledge, but the recognition and the razzmatazz that the Grammys bring, even the name itself,
yeah.
We're like, wow, Grammys, oh my God. When Red Sun was signed, there was a big hoopla, but it's like after that,
yep.
Vitu
zikakimya. Yeah.
But because why? And maybe they are, because you'll be thinking they'd be churning out album after album or whatever it is, whatever the deal was, however many albums we are waiting, but we are not hearing anything or even new music. Maybe there's new music, maybe there's something, but I think at some point, and it's one of those you hope and pray that mutaerevuka. I remember one time Calligraph, OG, was being interviewed on CTA, and he said how Nonini alimchanua. Akamwambia, my friend, there's something called split sheets. Make sure
the business side of it.
The business side of it.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that's a big part that that a lot of young artists need mentorship in, and that they don't have. They need that protection. So I think also coming from Africa to being brought to the Grammy stage with all the lights, camera, action, I think especially our big artists need to be very careful. They should not get too excited. They should understand that the reason why the Grammys have picked us is not because, like they felt sorry for us or it's because they are seeing what's happening and they have, like foresight to know where this is going. So they actually need you more than you need them.
Kabisa.
Yeah.
And also now, if you give away your rights, if you don't have your masters,
Yeah.
masters.
Yes.
If you don't have that, there's no way uta because once these guys, and it's on heavy rotation, because they'll come in, they'll bring in their people. Radio stations all over the continent these guys will make sure these labels will make sure that their music is playing on high rotation.
Yes.
Which means that advertising dollars, or shillings, or I wouldn't even know.
Do you know
Tanzanian shilling? But ultimately, all this money will trickle down to the companies. How much of this money is going to be seen by the artist?
Exactly. And I think part of the problem is when an artist is young and they're coming from that hungry perspective whereby they've not made their first million. So when they're shown this money up front, like you sign this contract, we're going to give you 1 million up front, they get excited when they see that 1 million and, and they watch her, like 10, 20 million that maybe may come over the next 5-10 years. They take the 1 million now because it's immediate, and that's where some of these record labels know how to play these games. They understand, like this artist wants to buy their first car, they want to do their first show, so they overwhelm them there at the beginning. But then if you're just patient, and also artists like T.I. have talked about this, if you're just patient and wait for that long money, you're gonna eat, and you're gonna eat very well. Fundi.
That's it. No matter, you see, like, remember when Diamond was here and
Yes.
they win, and they, you know what, one time they play, just one day they play that song on MTV.
Diamond song.
Yeah, you know how much they get paid for that song?
No, tell us.
Almost 40,000 US. For just-
$40,000 for
just-
one song.
for just that 5 minutes. See, people don't know about that. Maartists hawajui kitu kama ile, kwamba how they get paid.
Biashara ya mziki.
So wanafunga huko, ukijifunga tu copyright zako kampa mtu mwingine,
Yep.
you're done.
Yeah, because if you sign, and that's what has got Kanye West crazy. People don't understand why Kanye West went bonkers. Kanye West went bonkers because the contract that he signed
It was a lifetime
it
contract.
was a lifetime contract, and I don't even understand. I don't even know whether it's legal to have a lifetime contract.
It's very legal.
As long as you sign on the dotted line.
Once
But
you
now the
sign,
question,
you sign, you sign. Now, is it enforceable? That, maybe that's where now kuna ile waga inaitwa morality, humanity, blah blah blah. You go in front of us, say, hey, look, man, I didn't know what I was doing, and this is definitely, as a younger person, there's definitely no way, had I known what I know now, would I have signed that.
but did you
And
get out of it? If you know what I'm asking.
Well,
I don't. It's a lifetime contract.
I think he did.
I think he did.
I think he did.
Did he change his name, his performing name?
Whatever
or-
it is, but I think I think I could be wrong. We can
No,
go,
he-
but
something
because I
to
think
say.
word was that he got out of it.
Yeah.
He got out of it, and he changed even the product of shoes. He changed it.
So
Is
it
it-
means that
Yeah,
because then there was
Yeah.
a method to the madness to get out of the contract.
Yeah, but that's a lot of work. But then there's
Exactly.
a lot of there's a lot of
Exactly.
people who are caught up. I think those guys are called these guys who sang with Tupac. Ile song hit him up. Outlaws. Outlaws, I think, were also in some kind of contract that bound them for a very long time. No, najua hizo time uko West Coast, like Suge Knight yani was running,
Was
like
running
Death Row.
point. They throw like
like a gang.
yeah.
Like a gang. Apparently, Vanilla Ice was also in Death Row. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Vanilla Ice was part of Death Row.
Me, I thought he was being hung because of from a window. Or something.
He was hung from a window upside down in a skyscraper, and then anapatiwa contract. Like with a biro pen, kilometric. Akiwa amekuwa hang, ameshikiliwa hivi on a skyscraper, then you're given a contract, sign it. Either you have a choice, you either sign it.
Or we
Or,
drop.
or,
we drop
or
you.
you will find yourself
Yeah.
pen
You
or
remember
paper.
even when the Snoop was out from Death Row, went
From
to
Death Row went to
No
was it
Limit?
after
Yes.
No Limit.
No
yeah.
Limit, went to No
They
Limit.
went
after
on No Limit. One day he was in a concert, in the backstage, the studio night people came in. There was one clip showing they went there. They want to kill him.
Yeah, you know, it was serious. You know, like that shit in the West Coast. It was serious. You know, people are trying to mimic it in other places.
Money they were making. I
Yeah.
mean, that type
Hand
of
over
money
fist was a lot.
Yeah,
it's big money.
because I think the issue initially, that business was supposed to be a front for some other shady business, but now when this front starts making more money
Yes.
than the shady business,
It was a shady business that
Yeah.
got the studio time, got the equipment, blah blah
Yes.
blah, and then now the music overtook.
and then now the music overtook it because now crazy money started coming
Yeah.
in, and then now it's being run by
they
those
owned
same,
everything.
Yeah, they owned everything. you know.
But Snoop bought the whole thing back then. But it's
Yeah,
he
yeah,
bought the
yeah.
throw.
Snoop bought the throwback.
So Esther Mulusa has posted some stuff over here about Ruben Kigame receiving $12.95 royalties for his music. That's crazy.
That's 12.95 Kenya shillings,
Yes.
not US dollars.
and that's not even that's not even $10 now.
say, when is that? How many songs he did?
Boss, I don't know. I don't know how they
Hiyo ilikuwa
calculate.
ni matusi hiyo hapo.
Yeah, so I think over here at Taz Rogers, we're talking about infrastructure, digital and physical, I guess, when it comes to music. Leodoro talks about Tetema was Rayvanny. I thought it was the other ones.
Which other one?
I don't know.
The song Tetema was Diamond and Rayvanny who
Yeah.
Yep.
were singing the
Yeah,
song.
and this Spanish guy bought the song and he did mix with Revan and bet a lot of money on that song. It was Tetema, it was a Spanish guy.
Yeah, it was a remix.
Yeah. It was a
Yeah,
remix.
because Rayvanny did a remix with some Spanish guy.
on
Yeah.
MTV Award.
Yes.
Then that's the promise that they want to give to award who created the music.
Yeah, I know, you know,
See,
and this is
that's things start coming from there. They say it's this, but it's other guy who produced the music.
Washeke Ndirango says, I think in response to Tucha, they don't want to streamline or digitalize anything because it means transparency and they thrive in darkness. And I'm guessing that is the producers and whatever. Washeke says, the Grammys want a piece of the pie. Look at Burna Boy filling a stadium in the UK. Maybe that you're using Burna Boy to lure people in. Anyway, Slek says, some contracts have been shady. Even musicians here have fallen prey to some of these contracts, correct? He can play a la Prince, change your name. Kilometric Alibadawi Slayer Jui hiyo, please explain. I listen to a Martinez show sometimes and they talk about in some of their stories, and I guess this is how music and contracts. But I think ultimately, like Nonini said, and Muzi have said, and Elolota, it's a stepping stone. Tumefunguliwa mlango. It's to go in and to chafua.
yeah.
Now we eventually probably, you know, the Grammys will accept other genres maybe, but how about again, you know, because we talk about creating our own. Fine. What is there? Afrima? Is Afrima one of our own?
So Afrima, there used to be Kora. I think, I don't know if they
Kora
died.
Awards.
Yeah.
Then there was
Then
How many times did the Kora? When I see Kora, I never seen anything of East Africa.
yes, that's the other problem with some of those awards. You know,
Never.
like
Award Kora, I've never seen any East African musician be with.
yeah.
Never.
Yeah, and you see, and I think part of the problem, you know, like with a lot of these African shows, they were heavily West African.
Yes.
Forget about maybe East Africa, utasema maybe mziki wetu bado haijawafikia, lakini there's Congo, for example. You would rarely see, you know, like some of these big Congolese artists in those awards. You know, like they were awarding themselves, and I think that's part of the reason that those awards, you know, like kind of, you know, like fizzled out.
Yeah,
Because I think we need to find direction where we can, you know, like in a fair way reward our own artists and have a piece of the pie in the whole ecosystem. Because right now, you know what the white man is doing, you know, with seeing that Genge Bongo Flava is now in the Grammys. There's some white investor sitting somewhere who's never heard of Genge, never heard of Bongo Flava, but they're trying to figure out how can we get into
Make
that
money,
market hata
yes.
kama tutakuwa watu wa kusatellite ama nini, and that's the reason why you see with Afrobeat, like unfortunately that hype has taken over. There's certain parts where their own people are not eating. Unakuta wako na sometimes agents wazungu, unakuta wako na we need to figure out a way of just eating from all the sectors that make this happen, make this possible.
No,
that's very
white
important.
People go and do the whole thing like slave. We don't want that. We want
Yes.
something that can benefit the artist and the government of
The artist, the producer,
And
the
everybody.
stage managers, all these things that are needed, the people who dress the artists,
It's a whole ecosystem.
Yeah, that's why I like when kina Muzi of Jabali Africa get their clothes, wameenda huko Grammys, but what they're wearing is from a tailor in Jericho. Yeah, it's from a tailor in Jericho. It's not from some fancy name, I don't know, Gucci, or I don't know, Louis, or sijui kina nani.
And some of those, actually, when you look at the history of the designs, zimetoka to Africa.
Yeah,
But-
so I think we just need to figure out a way of finding a way to make, everybody, because when you see an artist, when you see Burna Boy go on stage, there was a team of people that made that happen.
Yeah.
Including to the hairstylist, the person who chose the pair of shoes he's gonna wear, the people who choreographed the dancing and everything, because there's a whole host. And that's where, Nonini was also talking about the split sheet. I think it's important for people to know. When you look at, these albums, like in Kanye and some of these artists here, when you go read the details, you'll see very interesting things. Hata kama ulikuwa tu studio, kazi yako ilikuwa ni kuleta maji. Iyo kuleta maji, you will be acknowledged. In the whatever, you will be acknowledged. Jina yako itatajwa, because in this creative process, creative people are very interesting, because sometimes mtu atakwambia they need a mirror. You don't understand why they need a mirror, but they just need a mirror. You just get it there. It maybe helps them think or whatever.
Yes.
So if they need someone to supply them with water at a certain temperature, that person will also there be supplying water at a certain temperature, and they will acknowledge that during the creation process, there was this person who was supplying water, and it's gonna be there. And I found that, quite interesting. Now, what I don't know is if every one of those people gets a small cut out of the long-term proceeds of that, but then there's always that acknowledgement in the credits, which I found very interesting. Uno.
Wahenga walinena kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Meli imetia nanga. We are about to wrap this puppy up. Na tuanze na our guest here. Eddie, your final parting shot, if you have one.
Mi napenda kushukuru kwa nimekuja kwenye debate leo. I learn a lot of Kenyan music and I love it, and just support East African music to go further. Let's love each other.
Asante sana, Eddie.
I don't even know how do you come behind that. Lakini Eddie, asante sana kwa kuja kwa show. Also to our guests. Thank you for being here with us, Bwana Nakitare. And this is a big deal. This Grammy category is a big deal, and Africa should not fall asleep on it. This is just the beginning. The door has now been opened. We no longer have our foot in the door. The door is now opened. It's up to us to run with it. Make the good music, make the music count, submit the entries, and let's keep pushing African music so that we can get more categories. It's got to be quality, and we can keep pushing. We have a ton of music in Africa. With that said, my peeps, tuonane wiki ujao. It's a holiday on Monday. These days, a holiday for everybody. The time it wasn't.
Wait, this coming Monday?
Yeah,
Juneteenth.
Like again,
Ah,
maybe.
why is my company not providing it? I need to call them.
So Juneteenth is a public holiday, but maybe you get like
Federal holiday.
maybe they give you the day after Thanksgiving or something. So they substitute.
No, I need
Some
to-
companies do
yeah.
that, but Juneteenth is actually now a federal public holiday.
But isn't that racism when a company doesn't provide it?
When you say racism, I don't see any race behind it. They just don't. If they're not recognizing that as a federal holiday, it means there's somewhere where they're substituting it. You need to find out from your HR department. And those are not comments of the One Mic Show. With that said, have a good week. Na tuonane, my peeps.
Okay, asante sana. You know, I am so sad that my company is not providing this holiday. Hata nilikuwa nimesahau. You know, cause
Don't go to the bank. Don't go to the post office. They're both going to be closed.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I think I need to bring this up. I need to bring this up because
On Monday, Juneteenth.
Yeah, because I need that holiday. But anyway, I want to thank all our audience, all our listeners. I want to thank Nonini. Nonini, asante sana. You know, umetutoa taka za masikio. There was different opinions there. Want to thank Elolotsa. I want to thank Muzi of Jabali Africa. But the one thing that I will say is I think it's very important that we support each other. You know, like maybe some people don't like the genre that was chosen, but tumefikiwa. Na tukiwa tumefikiwa, you know, just know that if you stay around there, hata pia wewe utafikiwa. So we look forward to see what this brother Genge being added to the Grammys will bring out. You know, there's a lot of good music that has been coming out, and we are gonna bring back Hit or Miss. Hit or Miss has been missing for a while, but we are gonna bring it back, and I especially want us to see what Genge songs could potentially get nominated to the Grammy Awards. Na kwa hayo machache, yeyote ambaye anataka kunipigia simu, nambari yangu bado ni ile ile 1-800 mteule, na operator akishika simu mwambie unataka kusema na mjukuu, na akikuuliza ni mjukuu yupi, mkumbushe ni mjukuu yule yule wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Aiden, Daddy loves you. Jerry, Daddy loves you. Nemo, Daddy loves you. Until next week, be blessed. DJ Matatari Buraboskade. Togende.
Yeah. Wow. You are now listening to the sounds of the ghost. Okay, closer, no distance. You like me, you're Mr. Whining, Calypso, me like it. Sadicto.